Good morning, good evening, whatever time of day it is for you. Welcome to this thing that I do called Thor's Entertainment. I am Thor, and today I'm playing through Resident Evil 2's remake one more time. This time around, I am playing Claire's second scenario on the hardcore difficulty. That way I can try and get the S+ ranking. This is actually the only scenario I have not done a video for yet, so after this I will have covered every single scenario in the game in one way or another. Now, regarding the S+ ranking, if I want to get that on this second scenario, I need to beat the game in under 2 hours, save 3 or less times, and I do not intend on dying throughout this playthrough. Now, with all of that explanation and setup out of the way, I do not talk during cutscenes, and I am ready to get started. So, you will not be hearing from me until after the opening cutscene. I'll talk to you all shortly.
Yeah, I'm almost there. You know me, I'll be fine. I'll be back as soon as I find Chris. Why does everyone think I'm gonna get in trouble? What the? Don't shoot!
Get down! Come on!
What the hell is going on?
I don't know. Hopefully they'll have some answers at the police station.
Wait, you're a cop?
Yeah, Leon Kennedy. You are?
Claire Redfield.
Claire! Claire, are you okay?
I'm alright! How about you?
Can't stay here, it's not safe!
Go on ahead! I'll meet you at the station!
Now, after the opening cutscene, it's probably worth mentioning that cutscenes do not count against your in-game time. So even though I have to beat the game in under 2 hours, the cutscenes are not going to add on to that. The time only continues to count if I'm controlling Claire, basically. But speaking of speed, I did record this in standard speed, but in the editing process, I went ahead and sped up that original footage by about 10%. That way this video is going to be a little bit shorter whenever I post it onto YouTube. In other areas, like if I'm using a storage chest, I may even speed it up more than that 10%. And that is just to make sure that this video is around 2.5 hours as opposed to 4 hours. And okay, let's go ahead and say hi to Leon.
Hey! Leon?
Claire! Hold on! I'll be right there!
Okay!
Claire! It's so nice to see you.
How are you doing? That helicopter just came out of nowhere.
I'm in one piece.
I'm guessing you don't have a key in one of those fancy pockets?
Unfortunately, no. But how are you doing?
You know, just surviving.
That's good.
Yeah.
Any luck with your brother?
No, not yet.
Claire, don't lose hope. I'm sure we're gonna find him. Damn it. You know what that means?
Yeah. Dinner time.
Claire, I think you should go.
Don't worry about me, Leon. You take care of yourself.
Claire, you need to go. Now!
Okay, let's get through this. Both of us.
The cutscene is over, and I immediately run to the right to avoid the zombie standing in front of me. Then I run to the rightmost side of the gate to avoid the zombie right beside its entrance. After that, I make my way to the guard shack, which is a safe room, to pick up the quick-draw army revolver. That will be using 45 caliber rounds, the most plentiful ammo in the second scenario. While I am there, I also pick up the hand grenade to deal with the zombies outside that we just ran by. Oh, and there's also some 45 caliber ammunition on a box by the lockers. I'll go ahead and grab that as well. And lastly, I pick up the gate key, that way I can get into the police station after I blow up the zombies. I often throw the grenade at the last possible second so the zombies will be as close to me as they possibly can, and it detonates just before a zombie can actually grab me and bite me. Now if I screw up and get grabbed by any of these zombies and let them bite me before I reach the police station, I just end up starting the entire scenario over again because I do not want to be taking damage this early. It's really not worth going forward needing to heal right here at the beginning of the game. Also, I hope you enjoyed getting to see Leon before in the cutscene because that is going to be the last time we see him until the very end of the game. One of the benefits of this being a second scenario is that we are going to be dealing with way less cutscenes at the very beginning of the game. I think that's going to be the very last one until the first boss fight of the game, and that's going to be in about 30 minutes from now. Now that I have managed to use the courtyard key to get through the gates, I go ahead and go up to the second floor and wait for a few fiery zombies to walk by the door, and once they go down the hallway is when I'm going to be able to move forward. I want them to get a distance away from the door so I can quickly go inside, and then I can grab the green herb on the windowsill and then run back outside before the zombies can turn around and get me. And alright, he's almost completely out of the way. And here we go. I did not mention it earlier, but whenever I was in the courtyard before the cutscene with Leon, I picked up a blue herb and a red herb, and with all three of those, I can get a very early game green-red-blue herb combination. Also, at the very bottom of the fire escape, I went ahead and picked up some more 45 caliber ammunition and some boards to board up some windows. That is going to be coming in handy here in just a moment. Going back to the green-red-blue herb combination, that combination is super useful because it can fully heal you, it removes poison if you have that status, it grants you temporary poison immunity on top of that, and then it also grants you temporary damage resistance so that attacks do not hurt you as badly. So that is a really good healing item to have early on, and with that strong healing item created, I go ahead and go back down to the first floor door. I cut through there, cut through the office area with Elliot. I say hi to him, and Elliot, got cut in half in the first scenario. I run by him to the break room, and that break room is going to be a safe room, and it's going to be where the next item I need is located. The item I need is going to be a fuse, and I will be using it soon to open up the shutter door that will give me access to the entrance hall, and also give me access to parts of the west side of the building for the very first time. While I was in the break room, the other noteworthy items that I picked up were a blue herb, high-grade gunpowder, and some submachine gun ammunition that I guess I thought would come in handy later on, but this ends up being a little bit of a wasted effort. That's because I will not be getting the submachine gun in this playthrough, so the ammunition is kind of useless. The sidetracking to get that weapon wastes a little bit too much time for my liking, and it does not really make enough of a difference in this playthrough for me to really go out of my way to get it. That's just my opinion, but yeah, I'm going to be skipping it. I also went ahead and got rid of the courtyard key since that is never going to be relevant again. So I eventually make my way to the fuse box. I grabbed the combat knife out of the wall that was stabbed into the wall by the shutter door where Elliot was cut in half. I did end up giving Elliot a few bullets whenever I passed by him, but ultimately I just leave him to his undead half-bodied nightmare to never be seen again in this playthrough. Tough luck for Elliot, but I just do not have time to put you out of your misery in this playthrough. After all of that, though, Claire did break into the West office for the first time, prioritizing boarding up the window to limit the number of zombies, and then grabbing a flash grenade for later use, as well as snagging a round handle, which is a key item that is really the only reason we came in here to begin with. After nabbing all of that, Claire books it to the chair-jammed door to narrowly escape the zombies. Then the fuse is put into the electrical box, restoring power to the shutter, and we go into the entrance hall, and then we get to meet some more zombies. Now, the entrance hall is probably the most frequently visited area of the police station, so I want to make sure I clear that out. I'll also be collecting the first medallion of the game whenever I'm in the entrance hall as well. There are 3 zombies in there that need to be cleared out. One of those zombies is going to be the undead version of our first scenario friend, Lieutenant Marvin Branna. He's the zombie on the ground that we just got done stabbing about 1,000,000 times. Now, this is the second scenario, which means we are never really going to have any living interactions with Marvin. He is going to be a zombie 100% of the time. That is a bit of a bummer since Marvin is a good part of either character's first scenario. Now, Marvin can become a zombie in the first scenario as well. I mean, he's a zombie the entire time in Scenario 2, but in Scenario 1, he's alive for a little bit before passing out on the couch. And eventually, while he is passed out, he ends up dying and zombifying. But he will not get off the couch as a zombie unless you wake him. You could reasonably go through the entire scenario 1 with either character without ever dealing with zombie Marvin Branagh. And it is actually easier if you just let Marvin sleep, so I generally do not bother zombie Marvin in the first scenarios. But in this second scenario, I have no choice but to kill Marvin and his buddies in here because, well, they can become a real nuisance whenever Mr. X decides that he's going to be stalking me all around the building. Now, going back to the other reason I came to the entrance hall, I needed to get some medallions. And that starts off with me collecting the lion medallion. In the background, you probably saw me going ahead and solving the symbol puzzle at the statue in the back of the room. The symbol order for that statue is going to be Crown, Fire, Bird. I popped it up on the screen whenever I was solving that puzzle as well, so you could see it. So there are going to be 3 medallions that I need to advance in this game. All 3 of them are going to be going into the goddess statue in the middle of this room like you saw just a moment ago. And once all 3 medallions are in place, a secret passageway will open up and I can go face off against the very first boss of the game. And after that boss fight, we move on to the next sequence of events to advance the plot, which is mostly just meeting Chief Irons and Sherry Birkin. Oh, and after I get done placing the lion medallion into the goddess statue, I take down the final zombie in the back of the room, and then I am free to go to the second floor waiting room where there is a safe that can be unlocked, if you know the combination. Normally, you would not find that combination until much later in the game, but since the combination is always the same and I've beat this game several times, there's no reason to wait and I just go ahead and unlock it and then receive the weapon upgrade that is inside of it. And the upgrade is going to be for the handgun that Claire gets later on. In hindsight, skipping this upgrade and not opening the safe to save a little bit of time may have been a better decision, but in the end it does not cause me any issues getting the S+ ranking in this playthrough, so it's not that big of a deal. So yeah, we just continue on, and the last thing I do is pick up some ammo. And now Claire finds herself in the liquor hallway with a bunch of broken windows and zombies ready to go through those windows. We're cutting through here in order to reach the conference room. I guess it's worth pointing out that here in Scenario 2 is the only time we get the liquor in this hallway this early in the game. If this were Scenario 1, the first time you go into this hallway you only have the zombies. I just run at the very end because the liquor is too far away to catch up to me in time before I walk into the conference room. And I was just talking about changes between Scenarios 1 and 2, and this conference room is not going to be any different. Because we get the bolt cutters much earlier on in the game here in Scenario 2 than we do in Scenario 1, which means I can go ahead and break the chain on this door over here in the conference room. That gives us access to this little back room that includes the detonator that still needs a battery. That's the key thing I need, but I also get rid of the bolt cutters since I'm not going to be needing those anymore. I grab a green herb and I also grab an extra flash grenade. Time to go say hi to the vending machine zombie. Before confronting the zombie who is in a snacking mood, I do pick up some more ammunition off the dead end of the hallway over here. And I have been thinking that the vending machine zombie may be the smartest undead creature in this game. We kind of take it for granted, but he was smart enough to recognize he was hungry. Then he found his way all the way to the vending machine where he knew there would be food. And then the smartest thing of all, he tried curing his zombification by getting a Snickers, because he knows that you are not yourself when you are hungry. Yes, I know it is a dumb joke, but you can only kill the zombies in this hallway so many times before you just start running out of things to talk about, so now you're getting dumb jokes. Enjoy it, because I still have 2 playthroughs to go to get the S+ ranks in the other scenarios with the other characters. Well, same characters, just different scenarios. You get what I'm trying to say. So yeah, the dumb jokes might get a little bit out of control by the time I am done commentating all these scenarios for Claire and Leon. After all, whenever this scenario is done, I still need to complete 2 of them with an S+ ranking to have completed all of them with that S+ ranking. So yeah, we will see what kind of dumb jokes and tangents I end up getting on those last 2 playthroughs. Anyway, what am I shooting for here in the evidence locker hallway area and the west office area? For starters, I intend to clear out the hallway of a few zombies so I can move more freely through here, this very frequently traveled area. Besides that, I entered the west office and I went ahead and got a few optional items that could come in handy. One of which was located inside of the safe in that west office, which contained a hip pouch, which gives me 2 extra inventory spaces, and that will definitely be useful. I put the safe combination on the screen just like the last one, but that combination is going to be 915-7. You can normally find that safe combination in the STARS office, but I'm not waiting that long. Just like with the last safe I opened, I already know the combination, it does not change, and I went ahead and used it. So if you know that combination from previous playthroughs, you can get this stuff very early in the game. Besides the hip pouch though, I went ahead and grabbed some gunpowder and some ammo before going across the hall to the evidence locker room, and inside of there I got even more 45 caliber ammunition. With that, I was thinking I should have enough to take down another zombie or maybe two if I was lucky. Now the first of those zombies is going to be by the safe room, specifically the film developing safe room. Now that was the zombie I just took down, and it took every bullet I had to do it. I even had to stab him a few times while he was on the ground. But I did manage to take him out, so that's one zombie down. And with that guy out of the way, I went ahead and boarded up the window, so there is one less avenue of approach for the zombies. As I was doing that, the zombies managed to climb down and also fall down the stairs. So retreating into the safe room seemed like the best option for me because of my lack of ammunition and just needing to come up with some new ideas. With Claire in the safe room anyway, I went ahead and collected the gunpowder and the healing items that were in there. And I considered using the gunpowders to create some 9mm ammunition that could help me to limp through the very last zombies in the area, but I had a little bit of a change of heart. Instead, I deposited a few items into the storage bucket and decided to go after the extra 45 caliber ammunition upstairs. The healing items I accumulated should get me through any damage that may occur along the way. Or at least that's what I thought at the time. Because I ended up needing to heal myself immediately outside of the safe room. I have to admit, I kind of figured Claire would get a little bit further than that before needing to heal, but it is fine. I'll make it work. On the second floor in the corner by the bloody shutter, you'll find some 45 caliber ammo. And there should be even more of it on the third floor, and that should help get through the remaining zombies that may be in the way of me and the Spade Key. Before I do end up going to the third floor to get the last of the 45 ammo and the key, I ended up ducking into the locker room to drop off the round handle, and that turns off the steam that would be blocking my way to the stars hallway. While I was in there, I also went ahead and grabbed some flame grenades or flame rounds out of the lockers, one of which was locked with a letter combination lock, and that combination is going to be cap. It is not super important, but if you are curious where I figured out the combination for that letter lock, it's actually written on a dry erase board in the same room where we broke the chains in the conference room and the same room where we got the detonator that we currently need the battery for. With all of that knocked out, I'll go ahead and go to the third floor and collect the last of the 45 ammo. I end up stunning the third floor zombie, grabbing the Spade Key off of the desk, and then running to the west side storage room with the Maiden statue. Now I can't get to that statue just yet, but it is in there. I'm mostly just passing through the room at this point to pick up some more gunpowder, some 45 ammo, and then make my way to the library. Now the storage room I am referring to is right down the hall and on the left. And normally, if this were scenario 1, a licker would be crawling on the window over there as well, but this is scenario 2, so the licker is not going to be gracing us with his presence today. Well, that may not be entirely true. He's not going to be doing it at that window, but that also might be the same licker that's now on the first floor, so there's a chance we have already met him. Now, I will eventually need to clear out the library entirely so there are no more zombies, but I lacked the ammo and needed to manage that, so Claire just had to pass through the area without killing anything. Not to worry, I'll save that carnage for later. And since I ended up skipping them, Claire finds herself back in the entrance hall and I need to get rid of the Spade Key. To do that, I end up unlocking the west office door, and I also make my way back upstairs to the second floor waiting room. That's the same room where I unlocked the safe containing the extended magazine. And once I am in there, I end up using the Spade Key one final time to unlock another door in that location. As I am narrating this, Claire is making her way to that second floor waiting room now, and we're about to experience some of the most indecision I have throughout the entire playthrough. Fortunately, it does not last very long, but I do get a bit indecisive. And what I mean by that is I go into that second floor waiting room, I pick up the green herb that I wanted, but then I consider going back for that extended magazine in the safe because I did not pick it up the first time around because I didn't really think it was going to be that important on a bit of a further review. But then suddenly I found myself thinking again that I might end up needing it, and I go back to the safe, I look at it for a moment, and I just waste time because I still decide I do not want the extended magazine for the handgun that I'm barely going to be using later on in the game, so yeah. And on top of that, I try going back to the entrance hall before unlocking the door in that room, so I'm just all over the place before I finally get around to going to that door. That was the last door requiring the Spade Key, so I was free to get rid of it. I also go through that door to make my way to the art room, But going back to the art room, that's going to contain a key card that will open up the weapons locker in the evidence room. So that's going to be very handy because that's going to give us access to the grenade launcher. I'm on my way to get that grenade launcher now. And I'm cutting through the West office again to do that. But while I am there, I decide to take advantage of my opportunity by unlocking Leon's desk. There are 2 locks on it, both of which are letter combination locks. The one on the left is going to be NED, and the one on the right is going to be MRG. I unlock both of those, and with them gone, I open up the desk and collect the speed reloader for Claire's default revolver, the SLS-60. Now, I do not use that weapon very much in Scenario 2, but reloading it is really slow, so I will gladly take whatever I can to increase the speed of that reload. After all, I'll probably end up using it at some point. And with that upgrade, I get around the newly alerted zombies in the West office and get back to the hallway and the evidence room. The zombie that was in the room where we unlocked the safe earlier typically does not become alerted unless you shoot it or you go through the spade door. And since I just did that, he is active now and will be in my way pretty much for the remainder of the playthrough unless I take him down. Inside the evidence room is where I can finally get the grenade launcher. I go ahead and use the weapons locker key, open up that locker, grab the grenade launcher, grab the flame rounds in there as well, and I get back on track trying to find a few key items. And since I am running low on various handgun ammo, I'm resorting to using the grenade launcher for a little while. And it is a little bit earlier than I intended, but I need some kind of a weapon to get through this next part. The usage of the grenade launcher won't be very high this early in the game, but I will use the flame rounds to take out the last of the zombies that may get in my way around the stairs. After the fire from the flame rounds does the trick, I run by the cremation in progress. And then I become indecisive for a moment before committing to returning to the film developing safe room. I only go in there because I kind of need to make a little bit of inventory space, and I just need to drop off a few items in that storage box to do it. After I deposit a few things, I am just going to keep pressing forward with the grenade launcher as my main weapon for a little bit longer. Ideally, I won't even need to use it, but I need something to fight with just in case I forgot an enemy, which... yeah, there's definitely going to be a couple in the way. I make a quick stop on the second floor for a red herb that is immediately combined with my spare green herb, and with the healing item upgraded, it's full speed ahead to the stars hallway. I snatch up the flame rounds on the bench before sprinting into the stars office, and I start stealing everything that's not nailed down. That is going to include another red herb, but I have nothing to combine this one with. Then the battery key item gets picked up and immediately combined with the detonator so it has a power source now. Then I have just enough inventory remaining to pick up the flame grenades, flash grenade, 45 ammo, high-grade gunpowder, and the first aid spray. After taking pretty much everything I possibly could from the STARS office, I end up leaving, and that is when Mr. X enters the game in the second scenario. Now, I end up exiting the STARS office and running down the hallway to the right. That way I go back to the locker room that we cut through earlier. But if I had run the left direction instead, I would have encountered Mr. X. Now, he is still going to chase after me as I go the opposite way, but Claire will at least not be running directly into him. And it gives us a little bit more separation from that threat. While on the way to the third floor storage room to use the detonator, I make a mistake along the way. I completely forgot to clear out all the zombies, and I may have been playing the game with the volume muted, something I do whenever recording games that I have played a lot. And because of that, I think I may not have heard the zombie, or at the very least, I did not notice it in time, and it bites me, taking me down to red critical health. That means I'm just going to be one hit away from death. That is a short-lived problem because I heal almost immediately with the red-green herb, but yeah, that could have been a problem if Mr. X were a little bit closer. That would have been an embarrassing reset with the run going pretty well so far, but in an unintended way, this may have worked out. Because using that healing item clears up one inventory spot, and that means I could potentially get the 2 remaining medallions without ditching any more items or having to go store any more items. So once I am in that third floor storage room with the Maiden statue, I use the detonator on the barricaded cell. That gives me 10 seconds to do the library door trick. That's where I hold the door open against the bookcase, which prevents the bookcase from being knocked over by the explosion. And that is going to give Claire a really good quick escape option. Now, as soon as I heard the boom, I ran to the statue before Mr. X could respond to the noise. I then go on to solve the symbol sequence, which is going to be ram, harp, bird, and then I acquire the Maiden Medallion. Now, I wait a moment before leaving because I'm waiting for Mr. X to appear. Then I can run around the room to avoid him and then keep him behind me going forward.
Jesus, stay back!
I want that because I don't want to be running into him by mistake along the way out of here. Claire does unfortunately run into the zombie that fell from the ceiling, but the flash grenade bails me out, so no damage. I probably should have just thrown the flash grenade in the first place to stun the zombie and then stun Mr. X, giving me the easiest possible way to escape, but this works too. So I end up retreating into the library, and then I realize I never went back into the library to clear out the zombies in there, so me being low on ammo earlier kind of causes me a bit of a problem because I have to get around them now, and Mr. X is not that far behind me. Claire does end up grenade launchering the zombie at the bottom of the stairs, but he does not expire fast enough and I get grabbed and burned a little bit before he goes down. That ends up putting me back in critical health as I enter the unicorn statue room. I go ahead and solve that. After that I get the unicorn medallion and I immediately heal with the first aid spray, saving the green, red, blue herb combination for later on in the game, trying to hold on to that as long as possible. Mr. X will break down the door to the unicorn room, but the door is big enough for me to just run around him, so I do that. With the final 2 medallions in my inventory, I make my way all the way back into the entrance hall to the goddess statue. That way I can open up the secret passageway, and that will lead Claire to the first boss fight of the game. Now that the passageway is open, I do my last second boss fight preparation. I replaced all of the healing items I used up prior to this point by finding the healing items all around the entrance hall that I ignored earlier. That is going to include the first aid spray by the front desk, and there is also going to be a green herb in the reception room, and whenever I grab it, I immediately combine it with my spare red herb. As I am doing all of that, I remember there is still one more important item. Whenever it comes to the first boss fight of the game, I tend to use combat knives to get me through it, and I really need a combat knife for right now. Fortunately, there is one close by. There is a combat knife by one of the dead bodies in the library, so I take a route back up to the library, avoid Mr. X again, get inside there, and yeah, go ahead and get that knife. I do end up needing to use one of the flame rounds on one more zombie before picking up the combat knife, but I do manage it. And that was all I needed to prepare for the fight, so it is time to charge into the secret passageway where Mr. X cannot follow me. And the first room inside of that passageway is going to be an old office with some flame grenades that I do end up collecting. Now the office area is also a safe room with a storage chest, so I do a quick bit of inventory management. And after I got done adjusting my inventory, I go into the boss battle with 2 green, red, blue herb combinations, a first aid spray, the quick draw army, 45 caliber ammunition, the grenade launcher, flame grenades, flash grenades, and most importantly, the newly acquired combat knife. I go ahead and equip the combat knife over the flash grenades. And speaking of grenades, there's also a hand grenade at the very bottom of the stairs after you get done riding the elevator from the office. So I go ahead and go down the stairs and I grab that. And the hand grenade is going to be the very last item I pick up before the boss fight, so I go ahead and go back up the stairs. I go ahead and hear some ominous stomping and running through the halls of this weird industrial area. And now it is time to introduce Claire to the Birkin family.
Hello? Hello? Won't budge. Hello? Hey. It's okay. I won't hurt you, I promise. Do you need help? Here, you can take my hand.
You need help.
I'm sorry, I can't understand you.
You need help.
Why?
He's right behind you.
What? You gotta be kidding me.
This is going to be the 4th different playthrough that I have uploaded for the Resident Evil 2 remake. Each has had its own little differences based on the character or based on the scenario. Now, one of the things that does not change regardless of the character or the scenario whatsoever is going to be this boss fight with William Birkin. The boss's actions are going to be the same, the surrounding items are going to be the same, my tactic is also going to be the same. So if you saw my other playthroughs, you probably already know what the plan is going to be going forward. If not, here is exactly what I am doing. I am going to stab and shank William with the combat knife as much as I possibly can. That is going to be my best tactic for stacking up a lot of damage without using any of my ammunition, and that ammo is going to be needed elsewhere. As soon as I am knocked into red critical health, I end up healing with a green, red, blue herb specifically. Now that is going to fully heal me, and it's also more importantly going to give me temporary damage resistance, so that William will not be hitting me as hard anymore. From there I continue to use the combat knife to stab away at William, and I take his grab damage instead of using the knife defensively because I do not want to lose the knife. Because if I end up using it defensively, I will end up impaling his eyeball arm, and then the knife just stays stuck in there and I can't use it anymore. If I end up getting knocked back into red critical health, I will use the first aid spray instead of using another red, green, blue herb. And that's because the first green, red, blue combination is still giving me damage resistance, so there's no reason to go ahead and use another one while that buff is still active. Now eventually, because I'm using the knife so much, that knife is going to break. Now whenever it comes to the William Birkin fight, I'd much rather just beat him only using the knife, that way I'm not using any bullets whatsoever. That is the best case scenario, and if I manage to pull it off, it saves me a great deal of ammunition. And even here, where it's no longer the best case scenario because I have to use the revolver to beat William, I'm still using way less ammo than I would have because I used the knife so much early on. So that's still a pretty big win to me.
Hey, little girl. It's safe now. It's over.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I promise. Everything's fine. I just need you to lower that ladder for me.
Will you help me find my mom?
Your mom is down here?
I think so. I hope so.
Yeah, of course. I'll help you.
William Birkin went down after his ambush attack, but that attack also interrupted my item collecting. All around the arena you can collect some ammunitions, all 45 caliber ammo in the second scenario. There's also a hand grenade and a bunch of herbs. I've already picked up some of those things, but there's still a green herb and some more 45 ammo, all of which I just didn't collect before the fight ended, so I'm running around the arena now to collect those before I press on to the next part of the game with Claire's new companion character. That is going to be Sherry Birkin. Oh, and whenever I do get around to finally climbing up the ladder and continuing forward, there's also one more green herb at the very top of that ladder. I go ahead and grab it and combine it with my other green herb since I have a little bit of limited space to work with. Then I press on to the bridge. I go ahead and get that thing moved into position so I can get out of here. Now, Claire and Sherry do talk a good amount right when the bridge comes into place, and as they are exiting the plant, so I'll go ahead and let their dialogue go, and I'll be quiet until I reach the storage chest.
You got it!
So, what's your mom like?
She works at Umbrella. She's making a medicine.
Umbrella? That big pharmaceutical company?
My mom's always at work. I don't get to see her much.
Well, hopefully you'll get to see her again soon. So,
I end up depositing everything except the grenade launchers, some flame grenades, and 2 healing items. I want a lot of inventory space because I have plenty of items to pick up all around the dog kennels. And with those items managed, let's go ahead and meet the next side character.
Where's your dad?
He, worked with my mom, but he's gone.
Wow. Both of my parents are gone. It's just me and my brother.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't be. It means we've got something in common, and that's a good thing, right? Here. Come on.
Over there! It's closed.
Damn it. We need a key card. Hold on. Here, come out. And you're sure this is the way?
This is how my mom took me last time.
Sherry? I've been looking everywhere for you, Sherry. Brave little girl to leave your house in the middle of this mess. On the ground, hands behind your head.
You can't be serious.
On the ground, now. Sherry, tie her hands.
Why are you doing this?
Shut up. Tie her. Okay then. You tie her up now or she dies.
What's this all about?
Child endangerment for starters. Sherry, come here.
What are you gonna do to her?
None of your fucking business.
If you hurt her, I swear to God, my brother is stars, and I...
Sherry, get over here. What's your name? What's your fucking name?
Claire!
Sherry, you come with me now, or say goodbye to Claire.
Okay, I'll go. You better be taking me to my mom.
Absolutely.
Don't listen to him, he's full of shit.
Stop hurting her, please!
Don't tell me how to do my job.
Stop! Let me go! Let me go!
Obviously, nobody taught you manners. We'll fix that. Oh, yes, we will.
Let me go! Let me go!
I'll get you, you fucker! Stay safe, Sherry. Okay. Key card first. Then that asshole gets what's coming to him.
And alright, that is going to be our stepping stone antagonist, Police Chief Irons. I'm not reading all the documents in this playthrough like I did in my long playthrough, but his summary as a character is that he is the simultaneous police chief and director of the local orphanage. He has been getting paid off by Umbrella to use his police influence to direct attention away from that company. And the orphanage is also of use to the pharmaceutical company Umbrella, but I'll talk more about that a little bit later. For right now, I'm just getting a new weapon. I briefly ran into the firing range, grabbed a locked box, and then returned to the parking garage, where I used the key fob that I found inside of the locked box to open the trunk of a police car, which inside that trunk is a new handgun. More specifically, it's going to be the JMB HP3 handgun. It is another 9mm handgun that's not super useful here in Scenario 2 where there's not a bunch of 9mm ammo just laying around everywhere, but it is better than nothing. Well, actually, now that I've thought about it a little bit more, this one may actually be worth skipping. Because if I just remove it from my playthrough entirely, it saves me a little bit of time, but whenever I was playing this, I figured that maybe a new gun could come in handy at some point. Especially since right now I only have the grenade launcher in my inventory. And I guess I was thinking that this could end up saving me a few grenades on small targets along the path in the dog kennels if it becomes necessary, but I don't know that getting this 9mm handgun was really worth the time, but it all works out in the end, so it's fine. Just know if you're playing through this and you're trying to shave off maybe a minute, this could be a place where you could do it. Now, back in the dog kennels, I need to slow down to a cautious walk to get around some lickers that are dining on the canines. If I were playing as Leon, I'd be dealing with the zombie dogs instead of the lickers, but I am Claire, so we're dealing with the lickers. I suppose this part is actually a little bit easier with Claire because I don't have to be running away from dogs in multiple areas at multiple times. Once I get Claire around the lickers, the next stop is going to be the morgue. I need to go in there to get a red herb, a flash grenade, and the most important key item, the diamond key. I say it's the most important around here because the diamond key allows us to access an elevator that Claire can ride to get back into the police station. So we would be stuck here without that. There is an inactive zombie by the morgue door that I tried taking down with the new handgun. He becomes active once I grab the diamond key, and I don't really want to wait that long and end up getting cornered, so I'll go ahead and try to take him out now so I do not take any unnecessary damage. This was made a little bit easier because I ended up getting a critical head explosion shot on the zombie as he got to his feet. And after that encounter, I was mostly free to get the items I mentioned, and I say mostly free because the lone exception is going to be the diamond key. Claire finds a zombie on the slab whenever sliding it out to grab the key, and that ruins his nap instantly and he tries to grab us. So I retreat. I use one flame round on that zombie to make sure he burns on the ground where he's not going to be waking up again. Then I just have to backtrack through the lickers one more time with that diamond key and hope it goes as damagelessly as it did the first time. So I describe the lickers as having 3 different stages. One is oblivious, where they just don't really know that you're there and they're not really interested in you whatsoever. The other stage is curious, where they think there's something around them, but they're just kind of crawling around, slowly investigating. And then there is furious. When they know you're there, they kind of know where they are, and they are going to kill you. I managed to get by the lickers the first time with only getting them in the curious stage. They're looking around but not actually trying to attack me. And with good fortune, I end up backtracking through them the second time, and it goes exactly the same way. They never escalate all the way up to the furious stage where they start trying to attack me, so this was a pretty chill walk through the area. I end up snagging some high-grade gunpowder and a blue herb on the way out, but even when I get past the lickers that were eating the dogs, I keep walking all the way back to the parking garage because there's one more licker that has appeared in the hallway that, if you're feeling too confident and start running towards the exit, well, you will get pounced. I've definitely forgotten this before and got wrecked because of it, so don't be like me. Speaking of not being like me, I briefly forgot that I was not playing as Leon. I tried going through a locked door that leads to the break room hallway. The thing is, Claire can't go through that door. And eventually I remember, hey, I am playing as Claire, I need to go the opposite direction. This tiny mistake only cost me a few seconds, so again, no big deal, we are back on track, we are good. Using the diamond key, I can open up the door next to the private elevator, inside which we find a lever and we use that to activate the elevator again. Also inside that room with the lever is a stock attachment for the grenade launcher, so I go ahead and grab that and I apply it immediately to my weapon for an upgrade. And then we just take the elevator all the way up to the office of Police Chief Irons. On the pathway to the office, there is a green herb, which I go ahead and grab, and I get myself another green-red-blue herb combination for future use. I would like to use it either in the sewers later on, or in some boss battles towards the end of the game. Then finally, we step foot in the office that is decorated all over the place with different taxidermy projects from Chief Irons, something he's apparently been working on over the years. It seems he has worked with many different animals, but there's still one project he really wanted to do but was not able to do until, well, tonight. That ends up being the reason for Chief Irons abducting someone earlier in the night, before Sherry was taken, of course. So this is going to be the second person he has taken, the first of which was the mayor's daughter, Catherine Warren. We will be seeing what happened to her later. So we run by all the stuffed animals to the back of Chief Irons' office where we find a couple of different things. The first is an odd picture, and whenever we examine that, we find that it contains the heart key. I'll be using that so I can access the rest of the police station again. Besides the heart key, we also find a small cell which contains a bunch of different parking garage key cards in it. And beside that cell is a panel. The panel previously could be used to open the cell door, but, well, it's missing some parts that we need to go find. So we need to find a way to get the cell door open, that way we can get a key card to the parking garage, we can leave, and then go pursue Chief Irons and Sherry. To use the panel, we're going to have to find 2 parts so it's usable again. So our next objective is to access some new spots throughout the police station and get those panel parts. One is going to be on the 3rd floor storage room on the east side of the building. The other is going to be in the Clocktower that requires a little bit of a puzzle to be solved using some gears. The Clocktower can be accessed through a different part of the library that we have not gotten to yet. I end up leaving Chief Irons' office to begin that process, starting by going up to the 3rd floor storage room. Along the way, I decided to grab a flash grenade and also grab some 45 caliber ammo out of some lockers on the 3rd floor. Then once I am inside the storage room, I grab another blue herb, that way I can make one more green-red-blue herb combo. Near that blue herb also is a big gear. I need that for the Clocktower puzzle. The big gear ends up taking up 2 inventory spaces, and suddenly I have a full inventory. I think about how to handle that as I catch a zombie on fire, then I end up picking up some more flame grenades to replace the one I just shot, and then I repeat the process with another zombie that's just hiding in the storage room. I still did not really have a good idea of what item I wanted to get rid of to make room for the panel parts, and I did not really want to backtrack back to the safe room either. So, after some consideration, I decided I would knock out the helicopter fire step first. If I do that, I can make my way to the clock tower and grab the panel part in there first. Then after that, I can backtrack more conveniently to the 3rd floor storage room and pick up the second panel part. If I go about it this way, I waste a little bit less time, so it should work out pretty good. So to get started on the helicopter fire, I go over to the roof and start climbing down a ladder to go take care of that situation. I need to take down 2 different zombies with the grenade launcher and then go manipulate the water pumps on the roof, that way I can extinguish the helicopter fire. Now once the fire is extinguished, in theory, we would be good to go through that hallway since there's no longer any major threat and no fire to burn us if we try climbing through the helicopter. But life is not going to be that simple. Now, down here are going to be those 2 zombies I need to use the grenade launcher on, and also near me is going to be the lever I need to pull in order to activate the watering mechanism that we can use to extinguish the helicopter 1 floor up here on the roof. I go ahead and knock all that out, so there's no more threat from the zombies, the water is going to be usable next to the fire, and then we can be greeted by the next threat that's going to be following us all around the police station for the foreseeable future. Along the way, I do pick up some 45 caliber ammunition that was laying on the bench next to the fire after it is extinguished, and let's go ahead and go say hi to Mr. X. And once I start seeing Mr. X lifting up the helicopter, I do not stick around to say hello for much longer. I run all the way back to the roof, and now it's time for my usual process to begin. What I'll do is I go as far away from that door as possible, wait for Mr. X to push it open and come after me. Then I am free to circle around the roof around Mr. X, and then I can go back into that hallway without there being anyone in front of me. And courtesy of him lifting up that helicopter, the path is going to be clear. I can run all the way back to the entrance hall with nothing getting in my way. Now to get to the entrance hall, Claire makes her way through the 2nd floor waiting room. And then we just cut through there for a moment, and the goal here is going to be to make it all the way back to the room connected to the conference room where we broke up the chains using the bolt cutters, and we also found the detonator. In that same room is going to be another door that is locked, and specifically locked requiring the heart key. We got the heart key from Chief Iron's office, so we can unlock that door now. On the other side of that heart door is going to be some kind of a records room. It's going to have a table with a hand grenade on it, and more importantly, it's going to have a jack handle on it. That jack handle is going to be the next key item we need. And we need it because it's going to be used to lower the bookcases in the library, where we can move them around and arrange them together to make a walkway that we can go on top of. Although I am getting ahead of myself a little bit with this plan, I still need to retrieve the jack handle, and then we can worry about the library after that. My route to get to that jack handle is going to be going through the entrance hall, and I'm going to make a quick stop for inventory management in the secret passageway. After that, I get back on track, with the next step being to dodge and burn zombies in the west office. There are 2 of them, and once the 2 in the west office are disposed of, I need to slow down to a cautious walk. Or, well, that was the plan anyway. So I wanted to slow down to a walking pace because there is now a licker in that hallway, but Mr. X had other plans. He was not going to be patient with me, and he started pacing up to me to try and punch me in the face. So I had to run into that hallway, alert the licker, and run from both the licker and Mr. X into the evidence room. Now in the evidence room, it kind of has a circular shape to it because all the lockers are in the middle. I'm going to use those lockers as a buffer to get around Mr. X. And after I have him behind me so I can kind of run back into the hallway without him getting in my way, I'm just going to have to hope for the best whenever running by the licker. Once I have the jack handle, the process is going to be exactly the same. I use the records in the record room as a buffer to get around Mr. X, and then I hope for the best one more time when running through the hallway and trying to get by the licker. Well, I managed to get by the licker the first time without taking damage, but the second time he does expect me and he ends up hitting me. So yeah, not as good as the first time, but definitely could have been a lot worse. After all, I don't really take a lot of damage from it, the hit's not substantial at all, and I just run through the west office again to get away. Next up, we cut through the entrance hall to the library. And all this cutting through the entrance hall is exactly why we took down all these zombies that were in here originally. It would have been a real pain to try and get around them if they were still around. Speaking of clearing rooms, the library was not completely cleared out the last time I was here, so I end up using a grenade to take out the last remaining zombie, and then I get to work on the bookcases. I settle for only lowering the bookcase and not actually moving it until I get eyes on Mr. X. I want him a further distance away from me before I try sliding the bookcases. So I go up the ladder to try and lure him onto the walkway, and then I run down the stairs hoping I will have enough time to move the bookcases before he can do the same thing. And it turns out I had just enough time before he got off that walkway. Mr. X crash lands next to me after leaping from the ladder, but he does not recover from that leap in time before I start running away. As I'm voicing this over, I think the bookcase walkway is actually complete right now. But me from the past when I was actually playing the game was thinking there was still one bookcase I needed to move. To play it safe, I started tactically relocating Mr. X one more time so I can do one more bookcase slide. That leads to me just walking around Mr. X, and remember people, it is super important to walk your Mr. X. He may be a murderous super tyrant, but he still needs to get in his cardio from time to time. And okay, I have eyes on Mr. X. I should have just enough time to move that bookcase again, and then still be able to run away from him before he hits me. Okay, now the bookcases are definitely ready to be walked on. Next stop is going to be the Clocktower, where we will be getting the first panel part, then making our way to the second panel part, and then we will be ditching this place for good. So, two things worth pointing out, I guess. You might have seen the other side of the walkway and wondered why I did not just walk on it in the library instead of bothering with the bookcases. The floor on that part of the walkway is actually unstable and it will break if you walk on it. So you have to use the bookcases no matter what. The other thing is that despite having Mr. X right behind me for most of the library stuff, I don't have to worry about how close he is because I just have to get to the Clocktower, and that's because that is a room that Mr. X cannot go into. So even if you have basically no separation from Mr. X, all you have to do is get to the Clocktower and you will be fine. So okay, the Clocktower puzzle. It is pretty simple. You put the big gear in the device on the first level to lower the staircase. Then you take that gear back from the device and then you climb up to the very top level. You're going to find another device there, and then you take the small gear from it, and once you have it, you replace the small gear with the big gear. Having done that, take the small gear with you all the way down to the middle level, and on that middle level you're going to find one final device. Place the small gear into that middle level device, and then the Clocktower bell will activate, ring for the last time, break everything around you, and knock down the box that you need so you can pick up that panel part box. And then you can start making your way back to the panel in the Chief Iron's office. And okay, after a little bit of destruction of historic property, there goes the panel part box. Now I just need to go pick that up. I'm sure the damage will be fine. It's not like anyone was using that clock tower anyway. Plus, we are just one game away from a missile wiping out the entire city anyway, so who cares? Also, now that I have the panel part, it is time to play everybody's favorite game, Where is Mr. X? I unmute my TV and start listening for footsteps. I take my chances and I end up winning this game because Mr. X is not waiting for me on the other side of the door, just waiting to punch me in the face. Instead of him being there, I had a mostly clear path to the third floor storage room on the east side of the building. It ends up being completely clear once my flame round demolishes the last remaining zombie in the way. Then I can unlock the door to that storage room, and then I move stress-free to get the last panel part, and then I make my way back to Chief Iron's office. This is stress-free because I know that Mr. X is not over here because the door was locked. Mr. X is a pretty clever guy, but even he cannot unlock doors. He does break through walls from time to time, though, but does not unlock doors. I mean, at best, he just kind of speed walks towards you throughout the entire building, so he's not going to be too scary considering I have this much of a lead on him. Then again, watch me say that, and in just a moment, Mr. X finally decides he's going to stop taking it easy on us and actually start sprinting. Like, okay, come on, Mr. X, you're not Nemesis in Resident Evil 3's remake. Calm down now, big guy. And now that I've thought about that, I still have to edit my Resident Evil 3 videos as of the time I'm voicing this over. Nemesis in that game definitely had me missing Mr. X, but I'll cover all that madness eventually. So, okay, getting back on track, I'm just going to do a quick unboxing of these panel parts. And then I'm going to trial and error my way through this puzzle, which is one of the very few that I've just been really way too lazy to memorize. Fortunately, this one's not too difficult, and Claire ends up figuring it out pretty quickly. And once she does that, it is time to get an update from Chief Irons.
Hello?
Good to see you again, Claire. We've got unfinished business.
Where's that?
In the neighborhood. You'll find it.
Sherry all right?
For now.
I swear, you bastard, if you hurt her...
Stupid kid. If you just hadn't dropped that fucking thing, I could let you go.
Don't worry, Sherry. It'll be all over soon.
There has to be a way out of here.
Alright, now we get to take a break from playing as Claire, and I get to play as Sherry. Now, Sherry needs to escape from this room, and there's actually an achievement for escaping from this room in under 60 seconds. I already have that accomplished, but I'm going to try and go for that time frame anyway, because why not? I need to speed through the game anyway to get the S+ ranking, so this is a pretty good little mini challenge. To get out of here, you need to pick up the doll, examine it, and you're going to find there's a block inside of it. You're going to take that block and go over to the wooden frame in the corner. When you look at the wooden frame in the corner, you're going to see half a symbol at the beginning of the frame and half a symbol at the end of it. And then there are a bunch of blocks in the middle. You go ahead and add your block to the mix, and you start rearranging them until the sequence of symbols lines up from start to finish. If you do that, you end up getting the scissors. I take those and I go to the cardboard on the wall and I cut my way out of the room. And having completed that, I counted 47 seconds. It took me 47 seconds to get out of the room. Oh, wait a minute. Forgot I sped up my original footage by 10%, so let me recount that real quick. Okay, not 47 seconds, it was 51 seconds. I got out of that room in about 51 seconds. Still good enough for the trophy if I didn't already have it though, so I will take that. And also, I think that was a few seconds better than in my long playthrough, so hey, I'm getting a little bit better in these things. Anyway, getting back on track, for the very brief future, we are going to be going from Resident Evil to Metal Gear Sherry. We have to sneak around and escape the Orphanage of Misery. While I work on that, here is the backstory of the Orphanage. I mentioned earlier that Police Chief Irons is also Orphanage Director Irons. The point of these two jobs is to help out Umbrella. Around this point in the game, it becomes more clear through the documents that the zombie virus outbreak is basically all Umbrella's fault. The Orphanage was how they were selecting their test subjects. The kids would regularly be medically evaluated for who was the most suitable and healthy for the testing. Then there would be fake adoptions where everybody believes a kid got adopted, but they were actually moved away to a laboratory and used as recipients for the viruses. Sometimes they were even putting the infected children into battle scenarios against each other to see which virus was more successful. Eventually, one of the infected orphans escaped the lab and they made their way back to the orphanage, which was a bad decision. This caused the outbreak to happen among the other kids and the staff at the orphanage, and Umbrella had to come in and clean it up and prevent the citywide outbreak from happening a little bit sooner. That cleanup is why we don't see any other kids here, and it's also why Chief Irons is the only staff member around. Okay, explanations out of the way, let's go ahead and get Chief Irons' keys, that way Sherry can get out of the orphanage. I went ahead and saved for the first time in this playthrough. Let's go ahead and kick off the event.
Where you going, Sherry? I told you to stay put. You need to learn to listen.
Leave me alone! Just please!
Time to teach some manners. You little bitch! You're gonna pay for this! You little shit!
Alright, now begins the run and hide sequence for Sherry. Even with half of his face melted off, there's no way for Sherry to fight and win against Chief Irons. Instead, we need to go backtracking through the orphanage. First, we ended up seeing the deceased and taxidermied body of Catherine Warren. Then I end up cutting through the opening lobby area for the orphanage, going upstairs and making my way to the nursery. Now the nursery is going to be dark and it has plenty of shelves, cribs, and other junk laying around, so that's going to be the best spot to try and hide and get around Chief Irons. So the nursery is going to have 4 locations that are important for me to go undetected. I guess I'll call them point A, B, C, and D. Point A is where I'm at now with these shelves that create a circular path around them. Eventually Chief Irons enters the room, locks the door, and we need to crouch down behind these shelves opposite Chief Irons and remain opposite him so he does not see Sherry. He'll start circling the shelves and we have to remain on the opposite side. Eventually Chief Irons is going to go to the back of the room. Back there he's going to move some sort of an obstacle, and that's where point B is going to be next. We just have to wait for Chief Irons to move again. Which eventually he does. He goes back to the door he locked and he ends up hitting his leg in some way. And he's going to be like, God damn it. Whenever you hear that, that's your cue to move to point B.
God damn it!
And point B is going to be in the back of the room by a stack of blue storage tubs and some blankets. Next up, Chief Irons is going to check out point A again. We're going to be watching him and we're waiting for the moment his flashlight starts shining around the shelves at point A. Whenever you see that flashlight pointed in that direction, it's time to go to point C at the end of the row of tables. Now I continue to watch Irons at point A, and eventually he's going to shine his flashlight at point D, which is going to be a desk against the wall nearby the bathroom. Now after he moves his light away from that desk, Sherry needs to sneak up to that desk and hide behind it. And then we just wait. Eventually Chief Irons is going to be in too much pain to keep looking around, and he's going to run to the bathroom to try washing off his face. He has to unlock the bathroom door first so he can go inside, and he leaves his key inside the doorknob. That's our chance to go get the keys while his back is turned. I don't know if sprinting or walking too quickly alerts him before you get to the keys, so I just go ahead and creep up and then I manage to grab the keys. Then we can just sprint our way out of the nursery, but we're not going to be able to do that without getting noticed.
Fuck is my key? I see you.
No matter though, Chief Irons is old and he's probably out of shape. Sherry can probably outrun him to the front door. With the keys in hand, getting the door unlocked should not be too much of an obstacle, but then again that would just be way too simple. Somehow, Chief Irons managed to lock himself inside the orphanage using chains on the outside of the building.
What? Won't open.
Sherry ends up finding that, and that just leaves us with one last path to go to. Sherry is going to have to run all the way back to the room where we first saw the keys and where we found the body of Catherine Warren. And from there, well, all we can do is hope for the best.
I'm coming for you, Sherry! Get over here, you little bitch! Game is over. No! Now you're in trouble.
Let me go! No, stop!
Good to see you again, Claire. We've got unfinished business.
What are you talking about?
Don't waste my fucking time! Bring me the pendant, or Sherry dies.
Pendant? What do you need it for?
Do you want the girl to die?
Fine. Where are you?
The orphanage.
The orphanage. Where is that?
In the neighborhood. You'll find it.
Is Sherry all right?
For now.
I swear, you bastard, if you hurt her... Are you serious? Damn it! Just you wait, asshole!
Now we are playing as Claire again, and it is time to save Sherry, which, go ahead and start expecting to hear that a few more times before this game is over. So, while Sherry was having her stealth mission, Claire was apparently escaping the police station and wandering around the streets of Raccoon City. Now we get to see exactly what that looks like. But before we end up hitting the streets, I do need to quickly do some inventory management. This is mostly just to get a weapon that actually has some ammunition. For that, I end up grabbing the Quick Draw Army revolver and some .45 caliber rounds. After that, we go ahead and ride down Chief Iron's formerly private elevator. We are claiming it now, so it is Claire's elevator. Then we just need to open up the parking garage shutter, and after that, we should just be able to walk out of here. Well, walking is probably too calm of an expectation to have because we are going to have some company as we are leaving the police station. It turns out Mr. X really missed us and he really wanted to see Claire off. Apparently goodbyes make him really violent though, so we are running away as we try finding the orphanage. It is pretty easy to miss, but there is a green herb directly outside of the parking garage shutter door on the right hand side. On the streets of Raccoon City, we end up finding a gate to an alleyway by Kendo's gun shop, and that gate ends up collapsing under the weight of a zombie. He and his buddy decide he's going to join my farewell party, and they make their way out onto the street with us. I basically just have to run in circles around an armored vehicle to avoid them and Mr. X, and I don't stop circling until the path to the alleyway is clear. Once it is, we wave goodbye to our stalker and we start climbing the fire escape. I think that is as far as Mr. X can go, but maybe don't stop running to find out. The path to the orphanage is going to be pretty straightforward from here. I'm not going to be getting too sidetracked by any sightseeing, and I really only intend to stop for one item that's already directly in our path. And speaking of being direct, I intend to take the most direct and enemy-free route that I possibly can. That's going to be a little bit easier said than done though. There's only one zombie that gets unavoidably in our way in this brief journey. That zombie's not really the one that I care about. I can just stun it with a few bullets to the leg. It is what comes after that that might be a problem, because our only reward for avoiding that humanoid zombie is getting gifted with a bunch of zombie dogs. I don't have great advice for this part because I keep getting mixed results. Dogs are a little bit harder for me to predict in these really open areas. I gravitate towards walls and cars as much as I can. The dogs seem to have a bit more trouble attacking me whenever I'm directly beside some kind of a surface like that, but in the open, they can have a much easier time getting to me. Even though I said being near a surface tends to help me avoid the dogs, well, one still manages to bite me as I try opening the gate to get to the basketball court. I healed instantly though, and I did have a few green herbs left over, so there's no real reason to panic. After the basketball court, I do the same running by cars trick to try avoiding the dogs on the way to the bus, but I end up getting the same result as last time. And by that I mean just before I could escape the dog-inhabited area, one of them catches me and bites me. So once again, I am in red critical health, but even hurt like that, I still risk grabbing a blue herb nearby the bus before actually getting on the bus. I originally only wanted to grab the hand grenade on this path, but I deviated because I thought the blue herb would be useful. The only thing is, that's a little bit of an ill-advised decision. That's because I ended up making a green-blue herb because I thought that would fully heal me or get close to fully healing me, and then also give me some damage resistance. I was struggling a little, so that seemed like a good idea at the time. Well, that combo does not give me damage resistance. So all I did was heal myself a little bit and then waste the blue herb. That could have been useful if I were poisoned, but that definitely was not the case here. Anyway, I still end up grabbing the hand grenade off of the bus, and then I stun the bus zombie by shooting it in the leg a couple of times, and then as soon as I get off the bus, I instantly get bit by another dog. So I end up just limping my way all the way to the orphanage gates for safety. Fortunately, I do make it, so we are going to be okay. Now, when I did my long playthrough with Claire, the dog part of the game went pretty badly there too, and I figured that my other Claire playthroughs would have to be better than that one, but somehow I think this one may have actually been worse. But it's fine, Claire is alive, the game goes on.
Your fault.
What?
Took too long.
What happened? Oh, God. Get off me! Oh, my God! Jesus Christ.
Oh, I do a quick detour whenever I'm inside the orphanage because I was still trying to platinum trophy the game at the time, and that requires you to shoot all the Mr. Raccoon toys, and there's one upstairs in the nursery. So I went upstairs, I shot the Mr. Raccoon, and now it is time to find Sherry.
Sherry? Where are you?
Sherry's going to be hiding out down the stairs, and after we just got done having a little reunion with Chief Irons, we're also going to be reunited with another old friend of ours, Mr. X. After he decides to show up, I sprint my way to the sewer's elevator, I'm kind of leaving Sherry behind in the process, but no worries, she cannot die during this sequence. Or at least I don't think she can. Actually, this would be one hell of a time to find out that Mr. X can in fact kill her, but I don't think he can.
Sherry, come on! What'd you say?
Claire, are you all right? Can you hear me? Claire? Claire, you have to get up. He's going to get us. Wake up! Wake up!
Wake up. Wake up. Open your eyes. Hold still. Not infected.
Sherry? Where's Sherry?
Sherry. Sherry's fine.
Do you know Sherry?
It's an impressive display of strength.
What happened to her?
We have to assess the situation.
Who are you? I'm Claire.
I didn't foresee this.
Excuse me. Where is she? Hello?
What?
Where's
Oh,
she?
Annette. Tell me, what happened to William?
I don't know. Who's that?
The creature responsible for this.
What? Can you help me find Sherry?
Seems to be evolving much faster than expected.
Where are you going?
Look, I don't have time to play 20 questions. Everything's under control.
I need to find Sherry.
My daughter is not your concern.
Sherry's her daughter?
Finally, after seeing Mr. X and Chief Irons get their reunions, William Birkin decided he wanted to get in on the rapid-fire reunions as well. So he got to send off Claire and Sherry by crashing them into the sewers. Although thanks to William, there won't be any more surprises from Mr. X, so that is one less thing that we have to worry about.
Sherry?
Although on the topic of things to worry about, Sherry is missing again, and we have to go find her and save her again. That is going to be the next objective, and we have to shovel our way through the sewer sludge to do it. Now at first, there won't be any adult G monsters in our way, at least not just yet, but those annoying poison machines will be appearing here in the very near future. Eventually, I'm going to be passing through this area again, and whenever I do that, there will at least be one adult G monster climbing out of a pipe, so that spot with the sewer water will not be clear forever. Well, I guess technically sewer water wouldn't be clear to begin with, but you get the idea. Now up the ladder and into the area above the control room, I found a bunch of zombies and I just kind of herd them into position for me to be able to run by them and go find Sherry. Fortunately, there's a lot of space in that area, so getting by them is not the hardest thing to do. Although as I am making this trip, I have to say I'm a bit surprised that Sherry was able to cover this much ground while Claire was taking a nap.
What is this?
Sherry, I told you, I cannot leave here until my work is done.
That's what you always say.
Sherry?
Why didn't you stay in the house? It was safe there.
Hey, Sherry!
I was scared. Those things were everywhere, and
You should have called the police. That's what we taught you.
I did, but nobody came, and you didn't answer your phone, so...
Sherry, I don't have time for this.
Oh no. Sherry! Sherry, I'm coming! Hold on, Sherry. I'll be right there.
Alright, there is Sherry, and there is Annette Birkin, who I'm pretty sure won Mother of the Year 1998. And there's a storage box for me, so I'm going to quickly ditch some items. By the time I am done with the storage box, I will only have the Quick Draw Army Revolver, 45 ammo, and a hand grenade. The goal here is to have as few items in my inventory as possible. There are a large number of items that I need to collect, or that I just simply want, and I would like to get all of them in one trip and not have to waste any time. The major items I personally need are the handle tool, the king plug, the queen plug, the rook plug, and the spark shot. The spark shot is technically not needed to advance in the game, but I want it because I want to make some of the final bosses more manageable. So yeah, it's not required, but it is personally not a skippable item for me in this playthrough. I waste a little bit of time opening up the safe for the SLS-60 frame upgrade. This is a time waste because I don't actually need or want that upgrade. It would just waste space on this trip, and it upgrades a weapon that I won't be using, or if I do end up using it, I'll be barely using that gun. The upgrade for it will not make it more viable to the point to where I want to use that weapon more, so I just leave the upgrade behind. There are some other optional items that I really want throughout this trip. The optional items that I'm wanting may not be necessary, but they are some red herbs, blue herbs, green herbs, a hand grenade, and some 45 ammo. To save a little bit of time against the zombies at the bottom of the stairs, I used my spare hand grenade to take them down as quickly as I could. There's going to be a replacement hand grenade on the ledge in the sewer water, so I'm not too worried about being short-handed on explosives. And it turned out somehow one of these zombies survived the blast, and I ended up needing to shoot his legs out from underneath him. I also start combining the herbs along the way, so I eventually have a green-red-blue herb combination. Right now I just have a green-red combo, so that will be changing soon. In fact, after I raise the sewer gate, I'm able to reach a blue herb on a ledge, and I combine that immediately to make that combo. And at least one green-red-blue herb combination is going to be highly recommended for later whenever I am collecting more of the plugs. So this is another one of those optional things that I kind of don't really want to go without. Otherwise things could go very wrong. And beside that blue herb was a door I could open with the handle tool. Once it was raised, Claire was able to find an elevator and some high-powered SLS-60 rounds. I ended up skipping the SLS-60 rounds for the same reason I skipped the upgrade. They are just not useful enough to waste inventory space on. Riding the elevator to the top takes Claire to a maintenance area. And once I am up there, I start off in a locked room where I collect some more 45 ammo, and I make the head of the zombie laying on the ground explode with just a few gunshots. Ideally from there, I would just unlock the door, check out the hallway on the other side, and then rip the rook plug out of the wall and run back as quickly as I could. Unfortunately, my gunfire alerted the maintenance hall zombies, so I have to backtrack back into the previously locked room, and then I wait for them to break down the door. I would prefer just to beat them with gunshots, but I fear I do not have enough ammo. That fear leads to an ill-advised decision that could be a big mistake. I use my very last hand grenade on the two zombies as they break into the room. Now that hand grenade is much more useful later, so wasting it this early, that could backfire horribly. That's not guaranteed though, so we will see how I get through the area I originally wanted to use that grenade for, but I've got a bad feeling about it. For now, I just keep moving forward. The rook plug gets yoinked out of the panel on the wall, and we head back down the elevator to try slipping by the adult G monster that decided it was tired of being stuck in the sewer pipe. Once I had eyes on the monster, I waited for it to dive underwater, and as soon as it does that, I run by him while he is locked in his surfacing animation. Fortunately, the adult G monster does not recover fast enough from revealing itself again, and I run by it damage-free. So my next goal is going to be getting the king plug, the queen plug, and the spark shot, all of which are going to be in the same area. To get there, I need to run by the zombie I made legless earlier. After that, I need to open up the sewer shutter door with the handle tool, and then I need to proceed to an area I like to call the sewer labyrinth. Honestly, it's not much of a labyrinth due to there not being very many wrong turns you can possibly make. I mean, it's a kind of sort of straightforward sewer water path, but I called that area the sewer labyrinth whenever I was taking notes trying to figure out my pathing, my routing, and it just kind of stuck in my brain. So I have never really stopped calling it that. It's always the sewer maze or the sewer labyrinth. So normally when I approach this area, my goal is to shoot and stun the partially submerged G monster. Then I run by it, and I hand grenade the second G monster. And then I run by the second one and avoid the third G monster climbing out of the pipe. After you get by those three monsters, you should have a pretty easy time reaching the door to get to the key items. The thing is, without that hand grenade I decided to waste, I had to risk just brute forcing my way through the second G monster. And I was just stuck hoping that eventually it would not just grab me and Claire could get by it. It is pretty rough to watch back in hindsight, but after getting grabbed and attacked twice, I was able to get past the first two monsters and the damage was actually kind of minimal. That was thanks to the full heal, poison cure, and immunity, and the damage resistance temporarily granted by the green, red, blue herb combination. Although besides the G monsters, there is one zombie in this area too. It ends up grabbing me and biting me before I could reach the next puzzle room, but that's okay. I still had that temporary damage resistance, so that bite, it barely slows Claire down and does not really do much to reduce her health. So it is on to the next puzzle where I just get to flip-flop the locations of the king and queen plugs. There are multiple panels in this area I need to use to open up paths, and I just keep leapfrogging those plugs into different panels until I eventually open up all the paths I need. That includes getting the spark shot weapon and also opening up a path where I can take both of those plugs out of the puzzle area. Oh, also in that puzzle area is going to be a blue herb and a red herb, and considering that there was a green herb available at the beginning of the labyrinth, I can easily put together one more green, red, blue herb combination. So whenever I eventually inevitably have to brute force my way back through the G monsters again, well, with that green, red, blue herb combination, I will have a better chance of getting out of there. Oh, and there are 2 zombies in the puzzle area. I take out one of them while they are still inactive, so I am less likely to get cornered in the midst of relocating these plugs. So I ended up using the queen plug in order to open the gate that will allow me to get to the staircase. And at the very top of it, I also find the king plug. If I withdraw it, the gate will close behind me. But fortunately, there's no fencing on the ledge up here, so I can just jump back down and continue my progress through the puzzle area. Using that new king plug, I can open up the gate that gives me access to the spark shot weapon. Now, the second zombie, whenever it becomes active, I just avoid it as much as possible until I have to shoot it in the leg, and I do just enough to stun it and then run by it. After that, I do the very last plug relocation, and that ends up blocking the zombie I stunned in that puzzle area, and that also puts me back at the entrance stairs so I can make my exit. I'm finally freed up to walk out of the puzzle area with both plugs, the spark shot, and a new green, red, blue herb. Using the king plug on the panel nearest to the staircase to get back to the sewer maze, that will leave the gate open so that you can loop back around and grab the queen plug. Anytime you remove one of the plugs from one of the panels, it closes a gate, but thanks to that king plug being in place back by the stairs, there will at least be one gate open that allows us to return to the stairs. So I head back to the sewer labyrinth, and I am prepared to run headfirst into the G monsters as much as needed to escape. I wait a moment, and once the zombie starts climbing onto the walkway, he is locked into that action, and he won't be able to deviate and hurt me. That's when I hop into the water and I start running towards the exit. To my surprise, not a single of the 3 G monsters from earlier even comes close to hurting me. So this was a lot less brute forcing and a lot more of a leisurely stroll through the sewage. Then the final surprise, G monster decides he's going to charge Claire by the ladder. Hopping onto the platform fixes this problem so you are not able to get grabbed. The monster eventually dives underwater, and Claire reaches the exit before the monster can resurface entirely and do anything to stop her. The only other obstacle is the zombie we shot the leg off of earlier, and just a few more gunshots finishes the job with him and ends his unlife. Much to my surprise, one of the zombies I grenaded earlier somehow survived. And Claire ends up getting bitten by that one from behind because I completely failed to account for that. She goes into red critical health, but it is going to be fine. We just elbow away that zombie and then the path is clear ahead. Just like that, we have everything we need to make it to the next area. And that is where we are going to be facing off against the next boss. That is going to be William Birkin version 2. Once we are facing off with him, we should be in position to finally save Sherry. I do elect to save for a second time once I am back inside of the control room. I only have one save remaining after that, and it will be reserved for the very late portions of the secret lab nest before the end of the game. After I get done saving for the second time, there is going to be another little puzzle that we have to do to open up the sealed door in the sewer control room. That puzzle is just going to be putting all the distinct chess piece plugs in the correct panels. There is a piece of paper on the wall that gives you a hint as far as which pieces need to go where, or which ones definitely don't go in certain panels. And then it is up to you to just rearrange the pieces until they are in a spot that kind of matches the clues that you were given. Once all the puzzle pieces are arranged properly, the door should open and then it is time to go into battle. I do get a little bit mixed up during the second scenario iteration of this puzzle. The first scenario version of this puzzle is different, so it kind of threw me off for a moment.
On my way.
But it wasn't anything that cost me more than a few seconds. Sometimes operating entirely off of memory and bouncing between scenarios can lead to a little bit of confusion, especially if you've not played this specific scenario in a while. Alright, and after just one final bit of inventory management before the boss battle, I'm left with only some healing items, the grenade launcher, acid rounds, hand grenades, and flash grenades. Initially, I forgot to deposit the quick draw army, but I quickly did a little backtrack to correct that. Without that gun in my inventory, I am free to withdraw one more green, red, blue herb from the storage box, and then I still have one inventory space available. I wanted one more inventory slot open because there will be just enough herbs along the way to williambirkin that I can make a green, red, blue herb combination. So I start picking all those up along the way to a little power room and make that combination. And whenever I am inside that room, I move over to a panel and I start flipping some switches. All of that is in an effort to return power to this little trash area where Sherry is. Then once the power is restored, I should be able to open that door and get to her. Or, well, if everything was going to go perfect, that's how it would go, but unfortunately we still have to deal with the boss. Speaking of which, it's time to say hello to the gigantic hands of mutated William. Alright, Mr. Dr. Monster Birkin punches through the door and begins punching through the roof as well, like a reverse game of whack-a-mole. I find and stand in this exact spot the entire time because William cannot punch down in this location for some reason, and he just punches all around me instead. That allows me to stand in place safely until the next phase of the fight begins. That transition happens when William roars really loudly as a cue and then starts breaking down the shutter door. I just wait for that to happen, and just before it happens, I use the green, red, blue herb to fully heal and then get some damage resistance right before the real boss fight begins. So yeah, once I hear the roar, I position Claire on the left side of the door. That way she can run right by William the moment he breaks through. That will give us a head start running down the walkway to the crane platform. This is going to be one of the lucky times that the head start is just good enough for Claire to jump down onto the platform before William's slash can make contact with her as she jumps down. That result may vary because I have definitely been hit by William on more than one occasion. Once on the platform though, I prep the crane immediately and then I pick up an extra flash grenade. That's going to be right by the crane controls. That looks easy enough, but sometimes the cursor is a little bit finicky, and it will keep going back to the combat knife instead of the flash grenade, and that can sometimes be a little bit annoying. Fortunately, that does not happen here. After that, I ended up hitting William a few times with the grenade launcher's acid rounds. The plan initially was to use the grenade launcher enough to damage William to the point he is stunned and unable to defend himself against getting hit by the storage container being held by the crane. I end up changing my mind for ammo conservation reasons for the rest of the fight, and I elect to do a much more risky plan. Let's call it Operation Decoy. This is a desperation strategy. Just call the crane back, run immediately into the container's path, that way William will run after me into that path as well. And just before the storage container can get back to you, you run back towards the controls, and I hope that I get there before the storage container kills me. Then hopefully William will still be in its path and he alone will get hit. With the help of a flash grenade, I get lucky, and that is exactly how everything works out. That easily could have gone worse without the blinding stun effect, and I have definitely been hit by that storage container on more than one occasion. And I spend the last of my acid rounds after that to get enough damage inflicted where hopefully a hand grenade will hurt William and stun him, and if he is stunned again, that will leave him defenseless against another hit by the crane. All of that goes according to plan. The grenade stuns William, and we see the second crane hit. 4 more damage to try and secure the win. I throw one more hand grenade at William for even more last minute damage before the crane hits him. And fortunately, that ends up being just enough for a finishing strike. Yeah, at one point, William version 2 was by far my worst and most inconsistent boss fight. Eventually that would change, but this was recorded before that time. Overall though, I felt like that did not go too badly, even with using a risky decoy strategy where I use myself as bait. And alright, let's go ahead and go tell Sherry all about the head trauma that we just gave her father.
Sherry. Mommy's here. Sherry. Sherry, can you hear me? Oh no.
Sherry?
Claire?
Sherry, are you alright?
doing?
I'm here to help.
Sherry's been implanted. She can't be saved.
Are you fucking kidding me? You're her mother. Get in here!
You don't understand. William is still out there, and if I don't stop him...
This conversation is over!
Wait! Wait! I can treat her. In my lab. It's not far away.
Mommy?
There's not enough time. Millions of lives are at stake. Sherry, Mommy loves you, sweetie. Goodbye.
Are you fucking kidding me? Sherry, don't worry. I will get you whatever you need, okay?
Oh, why are you doing this?
Because I care.
Thank you, Claire.
And now I get a much-needed breather after dodging a bunch of crane swings and fighting the same William Birkin that executed Mr. X and surviving long enough to find Sherry. I mean, it has been just very chaotic up to this point. And now I get a stress-free walk all the way through the water treatment area to go get to the rail car. There is a little bit of dialogue coming from Claire, but it's mostly just reassuring the barely conscious Sherry after her traumatic experience. So yeah, we're just trying to get to the rail car, and once we are there, we get another cutscene, and that is going to transition us to the final area of the game. That's going to be Umbrella's secret underground lab, and that's a place called Nest.
Oh, good. The cable car. Here. Okay. Here you go. Just hold on, Sherry, okay? You're gonna be just fine. Okay. Better check everything. There's no turning back.
This tram is bound for Nest. Do not exit until the final destination.
Hey. Are you okay?
Your jacket's so warm.
My brother gave it to me. You know it's supposed to be lucky?
I don't know what I'd do without you.
Are you kidding me? You were doing just fine without me until I came along and got you all sorts of trouble. I have something of yours.
I don't want it.
Really? Why not? It's so pretty.
It's from my mom. For my birthday last year. All I really wanted was for her to be home more.
I know it seems like your mom doesn't care, but... Hey, Sherry, come here. Hey, hang in there, okay?
Now, arriving at Nest.
It's okay. I've got you. Come on.
Alright, we are done riding the rail car down to the secret lab, but we are not quite done with the cutscenes. The route into Nest is actually kind of a brief sequence of rapid-fire cutscenes. So once we get within Nest in the lobby area, we will initiate another one whenever we drop off Sherry in the security room. And fortunately, that next one should be the last one that we have to deal with for a pretty good amount of time. I think the next cutscene we end up watching is during the next boss fight, and that's about 25-30 minutes away. So let's go ahead and watch this cutscene before we yet again have to go find a way to save Sherry.
Your visit.
Okay. Here you go. All right. Now what? There's gotta be something here. Antiviral agent. That's it. That's gotta be it. Hey. Hey, Sherry. I gotta go. You stay right here, though, okay? I'll be back soon. I promise.
Alright, time to prep the loadout for the newest area that we have entered. Claire needs to leave the lobby, cut through the cafeteria, and then get to the napping area to steal a wristband chip off of a dead body. That chip is going to have a higher clearance than what we currently have from Sherry, which is just a clearance level 1. That pretty much only gives us access to the lobby and the cafeteria at the moment. The clearance levels go all the way up to level 4, and I need to get anything higher to explore further. Before venturing away from the lobby, I make room in my inventory, grab some flame rounds from the security office where Sherry is, and then I deposit most of my inventory. In the end, I retained one green, red, blue herb, the wristband that I got from Sherry, and I withdrew the JMB HP3 handgun. Everything else got deposited, so I have plenty of inventory space for this quick trip to the napping area. With that setup out of the way, I am looking around the creepy dark hallway until I find the cafeteria. And of course the cafeteria is also very dark and happens to be full of zombies that you're going to have trouble seeing. Fortunately, I have trialed and errored this part of the game enough to know a safe path, and you can see me taking that in this playthrough. I stop once to grab the spark shot ammunition, and then I keep sprinting around to the ladder that will allow Claire to climb up into the ceiling. If you take that path, you should be able to get through the cafeteria without taking any damage. After going through the ceiling, I drop down into the kitchen where I grab a large pack of gunpowder and also one combat knife. Somewhere on the other side of the kitchen door is going to be an armored zombie. You'll see me slow down just enough to figure out where that zombie is, and if he happens to not be in the way, I will book it to the napping area. During this playthrough though, the zombie knew I was coming and, well, I had to use that combat knife immediately just to get him off of me. I took my chances running to the nap area after that, and I made it. Thanks to that partial success, Claire gets to say hi to the deceased arm of Dr. Wayne Lee. He is no longer using that level 2 clearance chip, so we go ahead and take it and apply it to our wristband instead. Also, while in the napping area, I grab the upgrade to the spark shot, and I also find some flame rounds. The upgrade is going to be a high voltage compensator that allows Claire to fire the spark shot just a little bit more rapidly. Then yet again the armored zombie is waiting for me and I fail to stun it. This time though I don't have a combat knife or any other defensive items to save me, so I just have to take the damage, and that takes me all the way down into critical red health. Claire shoves off the zombie eventually, and we have a clear shot by the cafeteria to get back to the lobby. And with our new clearance level, we can reach the retractable bridges to the east and west areas of Nest. While I end up waiting for the bridge to be extended so that Claire can reach the center, I go ahead and grab a signal modulator from the dead Umbrella Secret Service member. I think this is the dead body of Agent Ghost, but it's kind of hard to tell. You know, that's really true because all the USS agents wear matching black tactical gear and matching gas masks, so this really could be the body of anybody. In any case, we have the signal modulator, and that key item is going to be used to restore power to a couple of areas around Nest. The first one is going to be in the east area, and that ends up being the only other side of Nest that Claire can get to using the level 2 clearance. Going back to our much larger goal of finding a potential cure for Sherry, well, that's going to be in the west area, but that requires a level 3 clearance or higher. So our new goal is to get that level 3 clearance from somewhere within the east area. Before I embark too far into the eastern side of Nest, I do make a quick pit stop in the safe room, that way I can store and withdraw some items. This is mostly going to include switching out my weapon, replacing the JMB HP3 handgun with the Quick Draw Army revolver. Even though I will not be taking the spark shot with me, I do go ahead and apply the upgrade to it now while I'm doing the inventory management as well. And after moving everything around in my inventory, I am good to proceed into the botany-focused part of the east area. Now, the first thing I saw beyond the safe room was a guy in a hazmat suit who is being held up high in the air by a plant, and he is also being pressed against a window. The hazmat fellow seems to have a flashing wristband. The chip inside just so happens to be a level 3 clearance. So getting the plant to release him and stealing the chip away from his dead body is the next thing I want to accomplish. Now, I do not know how to negotiate with zombie plants, so I guess I'll just be looking for a way to kill the plant just like every other undead monster I have seen tonight. This is where we get introduced to the plant people who can instantly kill me if I do not have a defensive item to get them to let me go. This also introduces the herbicide submission. This part of Resident Evil 2 is definitely taking inspiration from the first Resident Evil because this seems to borrow a lot from the Plant 42 portion of that game. What I mean is that in the first Resident Evil game, you eventually encountered a zombie plant boss called Plant 42. You had two potential ways of beating it based on your actions. Well, actually, there's a third way where Barry ends up burning it, but I'm not going to worry about that one right now. I'm going to focus on two other ways. The first and easiest potential way to beat Plant 42 yourself is to just shoot the crap out of it, which is my personal favorite. Then the second option where you kill Plant 42 yourself is to make a very unique herbicide out of some umbrella chemicals and you use those to kill the plant. Here in Resident Evil 2 we have Plant 42's cousin, Plant 43. Only this plant does not like to be alone and it has an entourage of zombie plant people. These plant people buddies will try to bite my head off every chance they get, and the only way to beat Plant 43 and get it to release Mr. Hazmat's suit is to concoct a unique herbicide out of umbrella chemicals again, and use those to kill this plant. So that is my oversimplified comparison, but the concept is very similar between Plant 43 and Plant 42. That is definitely going to come with some additional steps like cooling down the herbicide solution that it can actually be used properly. But this is still pretty much just me trying to do my very best Rebecca Chambers impression and trying to make that chemical. I guess to keep the comparison going, that would make Mr. Hazmat our Chris Redfield. And this scenario would basically be if Rebecca took entirely too long to mix the chemicals and Chris ended up dying. Well, I got pretty sidetracked there. Time to verbally catch you up on what I have been doing in the game in the background. I picked up some high-grade gunpowder and a flash grenade on the way to the greenhouse control room. Once there, I used a keypad to unlock the herbicide solution dispersal machine and also the hatch in the greenhouse. I then released the lukewarm solution onto Plant 43, but the solution does nothing because it needs to be cold. So I then took the solution capsule to the greenhouse laboratory, and I just completed the puzzle for that, so I get more solution to eventually supercool and use against Plant 43. Before I made it all the way to the solution dispersal machine, I picked up a red herb out in the greenhouse, and then I eventually healed inside the laboratory with a green-red-blue herb. And that was just to make room in my inventory for a hand grenade. Oh, and on top of that, I mixed together some more gunpowder, that way I would have some more acid rounds. After gathering all of that and then getting the solution, I avoid the plant people in the greenhouse to get to the hatch, and then I climb down into the maintenance room. Inside the maintenance room, I grab another large-sized gunpowder container. It is on a table in the back of the room. And then I enter the cryogenic lab hallway. Once there, I snag a green herb that immediately gets combined with my red herb. Then I stop the item collecting and I use the signal modulator for the first time. That is in order to restore power to the cryogenic lab area. And then that will make the cryogenic lab actually accessible to me. Now if I leave this area without power and then try to open the cryo lab, the door is not going to open for me. So I absolutely have to restore power to this area in order to advance. And eventually the grounded zombies will get up, but I'm not 100% sure when that happens. I'm not too worried about that, but I wanted to point it out just in case that ends up being a problem for somebody else. Once the power is back on, I run straight to the safe room for more inventory management and some item collection. Similar to the cryo lab, the safe room door does not open if you do not restore power to the area. Besides just depositing some items, I am in this room to collect some useful things like some more flame rounds and a combat knife. I did end up forgetting some flame rounds in the hallway, so I turned around and went back out there to get those. Then I make my way back to the storage room safe chest. Wait a minute, I got my words mixed up there. Then I make my way back to the safe room storage chest. I replace my quick draw army revolver with the grenade launcher. I also deposit the high-grade gunpowder I found, that way I can mix it together with something else later. The signal modulator also gets deposited. I will not need that key item again until I am inside of another safe room with another storage chest. And since there is a storage chest I can just withdraw it from right there next to where I need to use it, that kind of removes any need for me to keep it in my inventory between now and then. And I do a quick time check while I am in the safe room, and we've been playing for 1 hour and 34 minutes. Again, that's only in-game time, and the cutscenes do not count. So I need to beat the game in about 25 minutes to get that S+ ranking. Now that I am done with the storage chest, I go back to the hallway and I tiptoe past 2 lickers that come out of the ceiling, and then I sneak away into the cryogenic lab. We are just going to chill out in here for a little bit. I make my way to the back of the lab and find the freezer, and then Claire gets to say hi to Wally as we insert the filled solution capsule. Wally does his job and rapidly chills the herbicide solution for us. And once Wally gives that back to us, it is time to take a route back to the greenhouse control room. We kind of have two options here. There is a staircase that can take us back up to the first safe room we found in the east area, and from there we can go back to the control room the exact same way that we did the first time. Or from here we can backtrack back up through the hatch and then cross through the greenhouse, then make our way to the greenhouse control room from there. Now I have used both options before and they both have plenty of hostile obstacles in the way. On this occasion, I end up taking the path that involves the stairs going to the safe room. That is going to leave me trying to get by 3 plant people and 1 zombie. Potentially 2 zombies if I'm going too slowly. My logic was that the lickers would relocate and no longer be in front of that door, so I did not have to cross paths with them. And if I did try the backtracking option, that potentially would mean more damage if they ended up catching me. And then there would still be the plant people in the greenhouse who can get behind you or approach you from the side or really just from multiple different avenues. So they are a real hazard and they could potentially kill me or cause me to waste one of my defensive items. Going with the staircase option means that most of the enemies will probably end up behind me instead of in front of me, and that just allows me to run away a lot easier, and there should be a lot less potential surprises cutting me off. I do not do anything in the safe room once I do manage to reach it, and I end up facing 2 plant people just before the greenhouse control room. I thought using a single flame grenade would take down both of them, but it only works on one and the other one ends up grabbing me, and I am forced to use a grenade defensively to get the plant person off of me. Actually, watching this gameplay back, the first plant person nearly gets me as well. The fire only kicks in at the very last possible moment to stop it. So, grand scheme of things, that fire did not do nearly as much as I was anticipating. Claire fortunately lives through that and gets the opportunity to disperse the solution at the functional temperature. We get to see plants getting stunned or dying, and that includes the plant that has been holding up Mr. Hazmat against the window. With him on the ground, we can get the level 3 clearance, but the plant people do not stay stunned for very long. They get to their feet about the same time that you get the level 3 chip, although if I were to waste too much time like going for the blue herb in the corner, they potentially could get to their feet even before I get to that chip. In this case, though, I do not get sidetracked and I run directly to the chip and I pick it up, and then the plant people begin to get to their feet. And then we have to run back through them, which is not really much of a problem. I end up using my last grenade, and I think I stun every single plant man in the process. So they shouldn't be able to stop me from getting out of the greenhouse. But one plant man does appear in the greenhouse control room after this point, but fortunately it's pretty easy to avoid, especially if you already know it's there. Then there are the 2 plant men I used a flame round on earlier. Apparently they were feeling bashful after I set them on fire earlier because neither of them got in my way whatsoever. I could just run unimpeded back to the retractable bridge area. Once there, courtesy of the level 3 clearance, I can finally extend the bridge to the west area, and then maybe we can find a cure to the G virus that can be used to save Sherry. Now, I am not reading the documents or anything because I'm trying to make as good of time as possible to get that S+ ranking, but the west area is where you would end up finding the laboratory used by William and Annette Birkin. And there we would also uncover exactly why William is mutated like he is. William was going to turn over his research to the US government, Umbrella found out, and then Umbrella sent in their secret service to go kill William Birkin or retrieve the G-Virus, or well, both. And both it was, because they killed William Birkin and they got that G-Virus. Actually, come to think of it, they were willing to take William Birkin alive. But things went sideways, they shot him and then they tried taking the G-Virus and then William infected himself and well, here we are. I make my way into the west area and then I accidentally pick up a body camera videotape. I have no intention of viewing that tape and I actually just meant to pick up the hand grenade. So that VHS tape can just become unwatched, outdated media inside the storage box forever. Although, speaking of the storage box, Claire is in the safe room I mentioned earlier where the signal modulator is needed once more. So I go ahead and I withdraw that from the storage box and I restore power to the Birkin family lab. It takes me a moment, but eventually we get the lights turned back on and it is time to leave the safe room, and then we make a quick stop in the sanitization or decontamination area. Then after that, we get to admire the gigantic room that is not at all suspicious or ominous. We just take the wonderful walkway where nothing could ever go wrong all the way to the back of the lab. We get to see a few fish tanks filled with various infected flesh of some kind with the G virus in them. Then we will see what Claire finds to help out Sherry.
Damn it. Look at that. All right. Hell yeah. Got it.
So yeah, that is exactly why Chief Irons wanted Sherry's pendants. I guess he had plans to get these samples for himself and maybe use those as leverage against Umbrella for money, safety, or well, who knows what else. This is also important because eventually Leon is going to show up in here too looking for a G-Virus sample. And that G-Virus sample also happens to be in the same container that we just opened with Sherry's pendant. So if we don't open that, Leon is just out of luck in his scenario. And thanks to us, Leon's story can unfold exactly as it was intended to, so you are welcome in advance, Leon. I make a pretty tough decision here, and I go ahead and save for the final time before the upcoming boss fight with William Birkin version 3. I would much rather save after that fight and during the self-destruct sequence, but I was a bit nervous about resource conservation, so I wanted to make sure I had enough ammo on all my weapons to reasonably beat all 3 of the final bosses. Going for the S+ rank means cutting out a lot of the ammo collection that I could possibly be doing throughout the run. And because of that, I could easily be putting myself in a bad situation where if I save later than this, and I happen to spend too much ammo on this fight, then I may not have enough ammunition to reasonably complete the rest of the game and beat the remaining bosses. So yeah, if I need to reset, this is unfortunately probably the best place for me to reset to. For the William Birkin version 3 fight, I prepare by only taking 1 healing item, the grenade launcher, a few flame rounds, and a bunch of acid rounds. Oh, and I also take the quick draw army revolver just in case the grenade launcher is not enough by itself. Oh, and I also get some flash grenades for defensive use just in case I end up needing them. Alright everybody, back to the wonderful walkway where nothing could ever go wrong.
What the hell is this thing?
That was my husband.
She is my creation! Oh!
William! I should have killed him while I had the chance. I don't know why, I couldn't do it.
He was your husband.
Honestly, we were more married to our work than each other.
But what about Sherry? How could you just leave her all alone while Raccoon City burned to hell?
I couldn't let my daughter grow up in a world with a G-Virus in it.
But that's no excuse. Leave her. I got this.
Sorry.
No. I got this. You should take care of Sherry.
You don't know what you're up against.
I have a pretty damn good idea.
Whatever you do, don't stop until it's finished.
Trust me.
I really want to beat William using only the grenade launcher, so fingers crossed I have just enough grenades to make that happen. I tend to think that William version 3 is the coolest looking, but also the easiest fight. That is one of the reasons I was willing to only go into this fight with 1 healing item. and I think the green-red-blue herb combination should be plenty. So while I am starting my fight with William, I should mention that I actually skipped that last cutscene whenever I was actually playing the game. While editing the video, I am adding it back in now to the best of my ability for cinematic purposes, but there is a slightly abrupt transition right at the very end of that cutscene. Still, I feel like it went pretty well, but I wanted to mention it just in case that stood out to anybody. I had to edit back in a bunch of cutscenes whenever I was doing one of Leon's playthroughs. The one I'm thinking of, I skipped almost every single cutscene and I had to edit them back in after the fact, and that's when I kind of realized there are some cutscenes that have a really easy transition where they end with a black screen, and then others try to seamlessly transition from cutscene to battle without there being any sort of a black screen unless you skip it. Because if you skip it, there is a brief black screen that would not normally be there if you actually just watched the cutscene. So whenever it comes to adding back those cutscenes in post, that one's kind of hard to do without it being noticeable. There's just not really a way that I can make it still be seamless whenever that black screen is happening. Anyway, I felt like sharing what adding those cutscenes back into the video is like in the editing process, so now you know. Let me get back on track and actually talk about this fight. When playing as Claire, acid rounds are going to be your best friend whenever facing William version 3. The acid rounds will briefly stun William, which leaves him open for follow-up attacks. My favorite example of this is shooting an acid round, then switching to the spark shot since William is stunned long enough for the spark shot to charge up fully without him being able to counter. In this case, I open up with the strategy of shooting an acid round, stunning William, and then switching to a flame round. That catches William on fire, and then William continues the burn whenever I switch back to the acid round to again stun him and repeat the process. I continue that repetition until I run out of flame rounds. After that, it is solely the acid round's time to shine. Whenever I stun William with one of those acid rounds, there is a recovery time where you cannot immediately stun William again. The duration is about 2 grenade launcher shots, so you can stun him about every other shot if you are shooting non-stop with the acid rounds. I just keep this process going for as long as I have those acid rounds. The most threatening thing he does is a jumping stomp attack. That's actually the whole reason I brought the flash grenades into this fight. If you do not have a defensive item, that jumping stomp is an instant death, and I'm being cautious. We get at least one example of that attack in this fight where William jumps into the air and stomps down on Claire. Claire is stuck on the ground with William's foot on her chest, and he is about to crush her if you do not have a defensive item. That is just a really crappy way to inadvertently lose this fight. Fortunately, the flash grenades end up serving their purpose and the fight goes on. Eventually, just by cycling through all of my acid rounds, William falls into his final stage where the cluster of eyeballs on his chest is completely exposed the entire time. After surviving the second stomp, but William is still clinging to life. After avoiding another jumping stomp and taking the backhand of doom to the face, I spend all 12 of the 45 rounds I found, and they end up being just enough. Williambirkin version 3 is down. I'll go ahead and finish up my ammo scavenging around the arena, and then after that I'll quickly go back up and I guess I'll be forced to talk to Annette one more time. There should be a pretty good amount of 45 caliber ammunition still left down here. I already picked up the spark shot ammunition that was here too. That is definitely going to come in handy in the very near future. Besides that, I think there's only one more flash grenade and a hand grenade and a first aid spray. Every single one of those items is of importance to me and I want them before I leave, and I am forced to pretend to care that Annette's on the verge of dying. Although it is going to genuinely be good to see how Sherry is faring after getting the antiviral agent. This will end up being the third time that we've saved Sherry, and I'm really hoping that the third time is the charm and we don't have to do this anymore throughout the playthrough. After acquiring all of the ammo that I wanted from the pit, I took the service lift back up to the wonderful walkway where nothing could ever possibly go wrong. Then we are just a brief walk through the Birkin family lab away from getting to the extension bridge hub, and then the front lobby, and then we get to kick off the obligatory Resident Evil Self-Destruct Countdown sequence to end the game. Yeah, I'm getting kind of excited that this playthrough is nearly done. This is going to be my second S+ ranking playthrough completed, and I just have 2 more to go. After that, I will have done all the Resident Evil 2 videos that I wanted to do, and then... well, you know what, I'll get into more detail on that whenever the outro is going on. For now, how is Sherry doing?
I knew you'd make it. My mom needs help.
Annette? Sherry? How are you?
Okay. But you don't look so good. Mommy?
Hey, look at the screen. Oh, thank God. So Sherry's gonna be all right? She'll be weak for a little while, but yes. She's free of the G virus. Did you hear that?
What happened to her?
She was attacked by the monsters.
Don't worry about me. Take my daughter to safety. I'm sorry, Sherry. For everything. Your life is what is important.
We can't just leave her here.
You're right, we can't.
Attention. Unauthorized removal of a level 4 virus detected.
What does that mean?
It's a self-destruct code. In case the G virus leaves the building. Please. Save my daughter.
No!
Sherry? Sherry, we just say goodbye to your mom. Mom, please say goodbye. Please, Sherry. Listen. She loved you, okay? You really gotta get going. Come on.
You were right about this jacket. I'm so lucky to have you.
So we can talk more about that later. We gotta hurry now. Come on. Sherry, can you walk faster? I don't want to rush you, but we have to go.
For anyone feeling just a little bit bad that Annette just died, remember this is the woman who infected 2 orphan best friends with different zombie viruses, locked them into a room together, and then took notes as they killed each other. Yeah, I kind of feel like Annette deserves way worse than this, but the creators kind of tried to give her a little redemption moment, and to that I'm just going to go ahead and say nope, I will not accept it. Goodbye, Mother of the Year 1998. Thank you for your level 4 clearance. It definitely does not make up for you leaving your daughter to die in a trash compactor, but I will take whatever I can get to escape this hellhole. The level 4 clearance lets us use the elevator in the center of the extension bridge hub, and we can take that down to the depths of Nest and find an escape route. So here is some context for where I am at with this S+ ranking playthrough. I have already used all of my saves, having saved 3 times. If I save any more, I am disqualified from the S+ rank upon completion of the game, so I have to beat the rest of the game without saving anymore. And then there is the real obstacle I am facing, and that's going to be time. On the elevator ride, I checked the in-game time, and I have less than 12 minutes to beat the game. That includes the entire self-destruct sequence countdown and 2 more bosses. This is going to be a very tense photo finish. I have to beat the game in under 2 hours to qualify for the S+ rank. So yeah, now you have an idea of the race against time I was facing in real time whenever I was actually playing through this finale for real. It was a tiny bit stressful at the time, and completing the game was almost going to be perfectly aligned with the Self-Destruct Countdown. Whenever that counter starts, the lab is set to blow up in 10 minutes, and at that same point, I had less than 11 minutes to beat the game. That explosive timer was possibly never more appropriate for me than in that moment. As far as the end of game items are concerned, I am now completely done with the grenade launcher for the rest of the game. It is now the Spark Shot's time to shine alongside the trusty Quick Draw Army Revolver. There's also going to be a late inclusion into our weapons loadout. Whenever we go to face off against the second to last boss, Claire is going to uncover a final weapon just like Leon does. For Leon, that weapon is the rocket launcher. For Claire, that weapon is going to be the Gatling gun or the minigun. So that is going to be the fun toy to send us into the ending credits. Healing items are not going to be super important anymore. I want one or two just in case I get really unlucky, but I'm really counting on taking as little damage, if any damage, as possible, and that just allows me to save a little bit of time. Heading to the end of the game, Claire and Sherry just run by a bunch of plant people because the plant people are not quick enough to grab either character, just so long as we keep running by. So just don't be super slow around them and you should be fine. Claire and Sherry eventually run into a locked door, and Sherry makes herself useful by crawling through the vent to try and unlock the door on the other side. Meanwhile, more plant people show up around Claire, and she is forced to survive until Sherry opens the door. Fortunately, Claire is prepared for just such an occasion by having a bunch of flash grenades to help shrug off both of the plant people. After enough pushing around with the plant people, Sherry opens the door and we run through it as quickly as we can. And that is just going to leave one final zombie that we encounter on our run, but it goes down after just 2 shots. Then Sherry and Claire are free to reach the end of their path. That is going to be a platform elevator that is containing a train and some elevatable tracks. That is also going to be the exit plan. Lower the elevator down as far as it needs to in order to connect to the rest of the railroad tracks, and then we are going to conductor our way to safety. Claire ends up finding some plugs, and we use those plugs to get the elevator going. But first we need to have one more cutscene with Sherry.
What are you doing? I gotta get this train moving. I need you to stay right here, okay?
Okay. I promise I won't move.
Good.
Be careful.
Always.
After that, I run to a console where I have a quick chat with our old buddy Leon. Then I'm going to be grabbing the Gatling gun before greeting our next boss.
Okay. Alright. Did something. Okay. Alright, it's working.
Claire!
What? Leon? You're down here too?
Yeah, but the whole place is coming down. Look, you need to get out. Fast!
I know. I found a way out. I think we can all make it. Where are you now?
Claire, are you still there?
Leon? I'm sorry, you're breaking up.
Don't worry about me. Just get out of here.
Leon! Leon! Damn!
And now we have the second to last boss of the game. Claire faces off against William Birkin version 4. I have played through this game a very good number of times by the time I'm voicing this over, and get around to editing the full playthrough. But I have to admit, William version 4 is probably my least consistent boss fight to this point. Or at least that is true in Claire Scenario 2 when you have one more boss to go before you beat the game. And that forces me to not use all of my resources on William version 4. So at a time like this, going for the S+ rank in Scenario 2, I am low on resources. The Spark Shot is going to be reserved for the final boss, which means I really need to take out William version 4 using only the minigun and my hand grenades. That is going to be the best case scenario for me, although I am fine with using the Quick Draw Army Revolver too if it becomes necessary. Aside from ammo and weapon allocation concerns, the clock is still not my friend right now. I cannot be too cautious and waste too much time. Under normal circumstances, I can pretty much use all the time on the clock to beat William Birkin, because the timer does not keep counting down after this fight. So basically, you win and you're done. But with this being Scenario 2 and with my time limitations and having one more boss to fight after this, I cannot use up as much clock as possible. Realistically, I can beat William with about 4 minutes left on the explosive countdown, which means I will have about 5 minutes after this fight to initiate and beat the final boss battle. The time crunch and the dwindling ammunition is really making for a fantastic finish, although I was definitely stressing it in real time. So as I continue to just chip away at the eyeballs on William Birkin version 4, I should probably actually talk about the strategy for beating this monster. Now, the obvious vulnerability on William is going to be the cluster of eyeballs on his chest. You shoot them and they pop. And after you give him a little bit of time, the eyeballs will respawn and start glowing. That lets you know that they are available to be popped again for major damage. So essentially, I am just running around the train and waiting for his eyeballs to respawn. That way I can shoot him at a safe distance without him being able to charge at me and do damage. With that in mind, it's really easy to avoid William version 4. So in most cases, I'm not really worried about being killed by William. I'm much more concerned about running out of time. And as I have done this fight a few times, I have to say in a perfect world I would have a bunch of grenades for this fight. Because hand grenades are by far the most effective thing against William Birkin version 4. Well, besides bonus weapons like the infinite ammo rocket launcher. You know, things I don't really use in my playthroughs. One grenade, if thrown at him properly, will pop every single eye on his chest. And then you just run for a little bit longer waiting for them to respawn, and as soon as they do, you do the exact same thing and you're just basically doing maximum damage over and over again. That can end the fight pretty quickly. In this playthrough I did not have that many hand grenades, so I'm trying to mix in them after doing a little bit of damage with the minigun first. And hopefully the combination of those hand grenades at the right time and then the minigun do everything I need to in order to get through this fight with enough time to reasonably beat the next boss. What I hate seeing when fighting William version 4 is what's happening right now. He will start climbing the walls in order to do a slam attack. I'm not really worried about the attack, it's really easy to avoid. But again, him climbing up there is just wasting time, and that's time I really don't have to spend right now. So I hate it whenever he starts spamming that attack because it's really screwing my ability to be able to finish this game in the time frame that I need to. And suddenly I'm in a pretty bad position because I've run out of minigun ammo. We are already below 4 minutes on the countdown clock, which is the point that I really wanted to have this fight over with by. So now I'm resorting to having to beat William with just the quick draw army revolver, and he's not even down to his crawling phase yet. And of course he starts climbing the wall again to waste even more time. So yeah, things are not looking all that good for me at the moment. Well, I was hoping to hold on to one hand grenade for the final boss of the game, but clearly I need it here more than I will be needing it there. Once William 4 is in position, I throw the grenade, it pops all his eyeballs, and finally he is in the crawling phase of this fight. All of this happens as the countdown clock goes below 3 minutes, but at least I am close to finishing him off, and maybe I'll have a few minutes left to try and beat the entire game. We have gotten this far, we will see it through until the very end.
Okay, I'm here. We're getting out of here. So what's the first thing you want to do when we get out of here?
I want to see where you live.
Good. 'Cause I take a shower.
Yeah.
Really? That bad? Oh, yeah.
Claire!
Leon! It's so good to see you.
told you we'd make it, didn't I?
You did.
Who's this?
This is Sherry.
Okay. Jesus.
What was that?
I don't know.
You stay here with Sherry. I'm gonna go check it out.
Okay, I go ahead and do a quick time check, and I have even less time to beat the game than I anticipated. I have about 2 minutes and 50 seconds to get the ending cutscene started and to get the credits rolling. I was worried about the amount of ammo I had, so I went ahead and quickly crafted some more 9mm ammo before continuing to the next car and starting the fight. I do something kind of funny, though. I forget to withdraw any 9mm pistols to actually use with that ammo I just created. Somehow I was still finding ways to waste time. This fight is going to come down to the spark shot with 14 shots, and the quick draw army revolver with 17 bullets. Hopefully that's going to be enough. This final fight is basically a cutscene, so I'll go ahead and show it in its entirety without talking. My only advice to anyone about to do this themselves, make sure you use the spark shot ammo when the eyeball opens. Let's go ahead and see how this thing ends.
Gotta stop moving like this. Hope you like bullets, because I got a hell of a lot more. For fuck's sake, how the hell are you still kicking? Like Chris likes to say,
We're gonna lose that car!
you like that? Fine, fucker!
Give me your hand!
So, are you guys like boyfriend and girlfriend?
No, we're just... Oh, we actually just met last night.
Yeah. That would have been one hell of a first date, though.
Yeah, you have no idea.
Look! He might be able to give us a ride.
What if it's not just the city?
Get Sherry out of here.
Come on.
Hey, that was Live Another Day by the great.
He was friendly.
So, is it over?
I don't know. But if it's not, we'll stop it. Whatever it takes.
Yeah, you damn right we will.
As long as we stick together, we'll be fine. Come on.
Hey, you guys can adopt me.
Adopt you?
We can get a puppy.
Puppy?
And a parrot.
Parrot.
And that is it. We managed to beat Resident Evil 2's second scenario on the hardcore difficulty with Claire. I'll go ahead and do the outro while the credits are rolling in anticipation of what the results are going to be at the very end. So I mentioned in the previous S+ ranking playthrough that the videos may slow down a little bit as far as the releases go, and that's just because these S Plus rank runs are being released as whole videos that are a few hours long, and that takes a little bit of time for me to fully edit, voiceover, and all that good stuff. Well, that is still entirely true. So far, I've managed to keep these things going at a weekly basis, but that may or may not change with the last 2 S Plus ranking scenarios. We shall see. Besides that, though, I need to be looking to the future of what's going to come next after the Resident Evil 2 videos are done in 2 videos. Now, I've already mentioned on multiple occasions I will eventually be doing Resident Evil 3, although I've also been considering doing videos on some other games as well in between Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3. That way I give myself a little bit of a break, and I'm not just completely burning myself out on the world of Resident Evil. Then again, I may just go ahead and go straight into Resident Evil 3 just because it's going to be a lot shorter in comparison to Resident Evil 2. There's just not nearly as much stuff going on in that game. There's only one selectable character. There are no bonus modes like the Fourth Survivor or the Ghost Survivors in this game. And to my knowledge, there are not multiple endings like this game had with its first and second scenarios. So most likely, Resident Evil 3 is going to be very brief. We're talking maybe 3 videos tops, because it's probably all I'm going to need in order to showcase getting an S Plus ranking in that game, and as I found out, I can get all the extra stuff, all the documents that explain the lore of the world around you, within the time frame needed to get an S Plus ranking, so yeah. Maybe I won't get burned out after all, because that should be a pretty brief experience, but even though that may be the case, I did mention I was considering some other games, so I should probably go ahead and just throw those out there as well. I am also wanting to do videos covering playthroughs of the Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver game that recently got remastered and kind of brought back some old memories, and I feel like playing through it. But then again, there's also another game I've been wanting to do videos on as well. It's much newer that I was kind of surprised by and really enjoyed my experience with, and that game is called Endling: Extinction is Forever. So I'm kind of wanting to get those in the mix somewhere along the lines, but I'm not sure exactly where I want to do that yet. So that is what I am considering and what I have in the works down the road. As for this playthrough, it went pretty well, all things considered. I mean, it came down to the wire, which made it really interesting playing through it in real time. And by interesting, I mean stressful, because I thought to myself I might have to start this whole run over again just so I get this S Plus ranking for these videos. And that would really suck considering all the amount of time I had already invested into this playthrough. So I was really hoping for the photo finish, and I see no reason to keep the suspense building. Let's go ahead and see what the final result was for me. Alright, the results are in, and I managed to beat the game in 1 hour, 58 minutes, 38 seconds. I got the S Plus rank with 1 minute and 22 seconds to spare. And man, that really makes you think back to things that happened earlier in the playthrough that could have definitely changed this outcome. I mean, even something as small as going for the submachine gun back in the police station would have probably put me over that time. So, yeah, we barely got it. Every single little decision apparently counted in the end, and we now have 2 S Plus rankings knocked out, 2 to go, and the next one is going to be again Claire, but next time it's going to be in Scenario 1. So yeah, thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to check out the other things I have on the Thor's Entertainment channel. As I alluded to, I have plenty of other Resident Evil 2 videos out right now. If Resident Evil is really your thing, I also have playthrough videos for the remake of the first Resident Evil. Beyond that, I have videos for other games as well, such as the various Mortal Kombats and Crash Bandicoots, so if any of that sounds interesting to you, feel free to check it out. But yeah, this video is definitely long enough as it is, so thank you again for watching, take care, and hopefully I will see you next time.